It's the biggest.
All right, welcome to the biggest podcast. I go by the name of Miguel Rockwell. As per usual, I got my right-hand man on the right-hand side, the Hawkins Bird, a.k.a. Joe Hawkins.
Yes, indeed.
How you living, bro?
Large.
Good?
Yeah.
Per usual.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I like to hear it. Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a couple weeks since we've been in here, so it's good to get back. I almost forgot like how I opened the show.
Yeah.
Like,
It's always kind of weird, too, because we're living this timeline, but then when they get released, it's like a slightly delayed timeline.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, they don't know. We flip it on them.
We're in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of been like that, though, for...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of DeLorean.
We stay like
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
Kind of DeLorean. Anyway, today we're joined by two Seattle veterans for sure.
Yes,
They've been putting stuff down in the town for a long time, and you know we actually had talked about having them on for quite a while, but then we were lucky enough to get connected by our good friend Mira Craft.
Yeah,
Shout out Kraft.
Yeah, so we
Craft sessions.
she linked us up, and yeah, so we're really excited to have Black Stax with us today on the podcast. Yeah,
What's happening?
Felicia
What's
Loud
happening?
and Jace.
Yes, indeed.
How you guys doing?
Good. How you
Doing
feeling?
all right.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Feeling good.
That's what's up. You know, we kind of Joe, you kind of like briefly met them
Yeah.
a little while ago during the summer at the Scarlet Park
Yeah.
show that we were hosting.
Yeah, they thought, my man Jace here told me I look like Scott Storch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's how we met. That's right.
I brought my shades too, just in case,
That's
just in case he forgot, because it's almost like an alter ego. You know,
Yeah.
I take the shades out.
That's
What's
right.
funny though is I was on the way here. I was thinking about that, and I Google image search Scott Storch.
Yeah.
Man, I am way more handsome
You
than
wait
Scott.
for Scott Storch.
Fuck out of here.
Give yourself credit with credit.
Yeah,
due.
man. That was
Come
after
on.
what? How many was that night? You
Yeah,
know?
I did. Was it already showing at that point?
Yeah, it was showing.
When Joe has the Cazals on, you never know. It's like, you know, it covers up half his face. So you never
Sometimes
know,
I'm just
but,
feeling myself. What can I say?
yeah. No, it's okay.
That's wrong.
But I told him, I was like, it's okay, bro. You're way more handsome than him. He wears those because he is actually like pretty ugly. And, he tries to cover up his face.
He's trying to hide his.
No, but on top of that though, he wears his sunglasses that Scott Storch wears, and Scott Storch is a dope producer. Don't get me
Yeah,
wrong.
no
but,
doubt about it.
He wears
Okay.
those sunglasses
Yeah, no doubt about
that are like they're pretty douchey sunglasses, like
Yeah.
just in general.
Well, that was
most
the
of
thing. Like
time.
these, mine are actually.
I guess I'm
like,
not getting any Scott Storch beats anytime soon.
Right? Me either. You know what I'm saying? No Black Stacks.
Mine are actually prescription, but I was just like, since I was going with the Cazals, I figured I'd get the gradient lenses, you know,
Yeah,
just for
yeah.
fun.
Go hard.
So, but they do kind of look a little douchey at night, you know. So I realized that. But I'd already gone with that. What was I gonna do? Like take them off? Come
No,
on.
not in the middle of the
You
show.
gotta go
You were
with
right
the,
in
with the
you were
look.
right in-
Yeah.
Yeah, make the look happen.
You were
do it.
right
Go
on
in.
time with the look for the night.
Exactly.
It was good to go.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hip hop.
Yeah, that's hip hop
Yeah.
for real.
You can't get more hip hop than Cazals, really. I mean, right? So anyway,
I thought you were gonna say can't get more hip hop than me, and I was
oh,
like,
then Joe, yeah, you're the essence of hip hop, bro. You've been,
I said,
you've
hold
been for a
up, what
long
we
time.
talking about? Wait a minute.
So yeah, so like I said, you know, you guys have been doing things in the town for a long time.
Yeah.
But we don't really know much about your story, and I think there's probably a lot of people that, you know, don't know the full story of you guys. So, you know, it'd be dope to kind of get some background. You know, or you guys, I guess we can start with you, Felicia. Are you from Seattle?
So, no, I mean I wasn't born here.
Okay,
Raised
where were
here.
you born?
Raised here. Born in Dallas.
Okay.
But ask them, they can't find me on record.
Yeah, you're not on file in Dallas.
But raised here. My mother raised me here, and so in coming here, I'm the only child, and so I really liked sounds. I really liked music.
Okay.
I really liked bothering my mother. I really liked creating different sounds. I also liked to draw, and I also liked. That's pretty much it. But what was wonderful is that, you know, as soon and dancing was like one of the things that I thought I was going to really be doing.
Okay.
And so when I started singing, and my mother would be like, you know, she's just making noise. And then after that, you know, she kind of listened to me in high school is when I really started to develop the craft of what it was to sing. Because
Okay.
I was going to Langston Hughes Performing Arts Center.
Right.
And at the time, it was Performing Arts Center. And what they did was they had young people come in, and you would have a writer, director, all local writers, directors.
This is like for the summer program.
This is for the summer program.
Okay, yeah, a very famous summer program. I
Absolutely.
might
Yes,
add.
yes,
You know,
it
Langston
is.
Hughes is
It's
well known.
still-
They were
still
still
on.
they did a really dope show just this summer. You
Yeah,
know,
summer
right?
Uh-huh.
musical. The summer
What did they
musical.
did? Oh, they did like the
They
Chocolate
did
Factory or something like that, right?
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, so I was involved in that
Okay.
when I was a youngster, and then after that, during high school,
What high school did you go to? I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask.
I
It's
went
okay.
to the
Just say it, you gotta say it on
doghouse.
mic though.
Yeah.
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 What high
I
school
went
did you
the-
go to?
I went to the doghouse. Thank you.
Okay, Garfield.
Yeah.
Them
Okay.
puppies. All right.
Shout out to Bulldogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we grow up to be big dogs. So went to Garfield,
Okay.
and they had what was Fun Fest, and I participated in Fun Fest, and then I started to develop and craft what it was that was my own unique voice.
Okay.
Because in terms of like growing up, I was listening to and mimicking. So I really loved Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
I just loved singing his songs. I couldn't mimic him, but Tina Turner, Diana Ross,
Yeah.
or Gladys Knight and the Pips. And so I listened to that music growing up with my mother, and I would sing that. But as I got older, I started to say to myself, I wanted to tell a story. And I wanted to tell my story, whether people were interested or not.
Right.
It was kind of that scary kind of adventure out. So I started to tell my story. People started to gravitate towards it. I started, my good friend of mine, I call him my brother, Justin Ameka, he's got a band together for me. He just said, I want to hear you play more and do more.
Yeah.
And I like live instrumentation. Coming from the theater, that was one thing that was always around, was
Right,
live
right,
instruments.
right.
So we got our live instrumentation together, and we were was Felicia V. Loud and the Soul.
Okay.
And those were all local musicians as well, and we were doing shows, and
This is why you were still in high school.
Oh, right after high school.
Right after high school,
Well,
okay.
well, no. I was actually, it wasn't right after high school. Right after high school, I went to the University of Washington for a year, got kicked out of there simply because I was not going to school. I was not doing my work. I was not paying the loans. There's a whole lot of things that was happening.
Okay.
in,
A lot of things you weren't
college.
doing.
Yeah, a whole lot of things I wasn't doing. But
They
while
never
I,
caught me doing anything.
Right.
Yes.
So I
But
wasn't
while I
doing
wasn't
anything.
while I
That's
wasn't
why.
doing that, I was still, singing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so after college, I wanted to be. I knew I wanted to be an artist. I was doing a lot of theater, a lot of great theater with the local theaters here, the Children's Theater, the Gallery in West Seattle. That was recent. Langston Hughes, as I said before. Poncho Theater.
Poncho,
So
yeah.
there were different things that I was doing.
Okay.
So then after that is when my partner had said, hey, let's get you some music. Let's get you some musicians. And so it was all our music, all our sound.
Right.
And we
And
started.
what style was it?
The style is rhythm and blues, jazz.
Okay. So
um,
not so much hip hop then.
Not at all.
Okay.
And I say not at all because I tried hip hop. Okay. But the one thing about trying it, I tried that right after high school. And when I tried it, the thing about hip hop that I was exposed to, that people were talking to me about, they were like, you have to come out with something that is a challenge. So right then, Roxanne Shante and Roxanne, the real Roxanne, they said, you got to do something like that. I was like, they'll murder me. I can't do that, right? And so I didn't have a really good name either. My first name was Fanny Annie, and they all talked about me real bad.
That's not a good name
It wasn't a
at
good
all,
name,
no.
but then they came up with Luscious Lee,
Oh,
so I was
yeah.
like liking that. But by that time, I was like, I knew sometimes you have to know your lane. You have to know your course.
Yeah.
And I knew that was not my lane, so I had to stay in mine.
Okay.
So Rhythm and Blues was the band, Felicia V. Loud and the Soul, and we were doing our sound. And fast forward a little bit, because I've been talking a lot, but fast forward, and then
That's why you're here. Don't worry about it.
I met up with Jason Black of the Silent Lamb Project.
Yeah.
And
That was quite a bit later though, yeah?
that was quite a
Yeah.
bit later.
Yeah.
Because I went through, like I was saying, just kind of fast forward in it.
Yeah.
Because my storytelling sometimes gets a little
No, it's all good.
jumbled.
Yeah.
And so, and we had officially really spoken, I think, first at Langston Hughes at a showcase. And it was a
Citywide,
showcase.
some kind of citywide
Yeah.
showcase or something.
That had all these talented people there.
Right. I feel like they used to do stuff like that quite a bit more.
Yeah.
At least I haven't
Absolutely.
really seen as much lately. I know they obviously still do the summer program, and they have
Right.
lots of things going on there. But do they do as many like hip hop type shows? And I don't really see
No.
none coming
No,
out of there
you're
anymore,
right.
right?
No,
Okay.
you're
I remember back in the
absolutely right.
'90s, that was like kind of heavy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of that had to do with the involvement of the community of artists.
Right.
Because they were all saying, okay, let's get together and let's
Yeah.
have these showcases. So you had young people in, we were in our 20s, and even before that, 18 and 19, that were putting on shows. You're talking about people who were being producers and people who were being booking agents and being managers. They were doing that at that age.
Right.
And so that and Langston Hughes Community Center opened up for that.
Right.
They were, and there was always, and it felt like a home because you had people coming from the South End.
Right.
You had people in the Central area. You had people coming from the North. You had people
West Seattle, all that.
West
Yeah,
Seattle,
yeah.
all
All that,
coming in
yeah.
and just
Right.
participating. And
Because
and
it was one of the only like places that was offering that kind of things at that time, right?
For
Yeah.
those age,
Yeah.
for that age
sure.
group particularly.
And it was right in the middle. It was right
Yeah,
there,
Yes.
right
right
in the central.
area.
Right.
And it made
Absolutely.
sense,
Right on
and it was-
Yesler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it made sense, and it was wonderful that they didn't shy away from all of these young black teenagers coming in there and having and showing and displaying, not only just displaying their talent, but you had people coming in who appreciated it. They were
Yeah.
filling up the
Yeah, these
theater.
packed houses.
Yeah,
these
all
packed
the
houses.
time.
Right.
And so that was a good feeling. And we
Right.
were in one of those showcases, and we met then, and I would go to their shows, and I would see them at my shows, and then Jason Black came one day and said, "Let's combine forces," and I believe Jace came up with the plan, the master plan, and
Well,
I had not thought of being in a hip hop group because Silent Lamb is raw to the bone,
Right,
Boom
gristle
bap,
and
raw
things,
raps,
all that, and it was just
Yeah.
like, but what I did appreciate, it was like, okay, these brothers is solid, they are protectors, they are into the message of the music that they are giving. They
Yeah.
are not about the front of it. It is about the realness of it. And so I could appreciate that. And I always had this feeling that I would be protected.
So just to give some context,
Yeah.
what what era was it that you guys connected and started doing?
that wasn't until
2000.
Yeah.
Hurricane
and
Katrina
9.
is kind of what set that off.
Okay.
There was a big conversation around being
late?
called refugees. And, me and Felicia had about a 3-hour phone conversation. We were just talking about how are these people who are from this place that are now displaced because of a natural disaster being treated as criminals and animals and
Right.
called refugees when they're part of this place.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was a hard time for us, and so we just started to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of emotion. How do you use music? How do you use platforms? How do you use influence? How do you use popularity? How do you use all these things to help these people? We're way up here in Seattle. We don't have that issue, right? Not right now at that time, but
Right.
there was an issue that affected us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Black man, black woman. We're looking at all these poor black folks. We're like,
Right.
they're refugees
Displaced.
now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're displaced.
Yeah.
They didn't do this to themselves.
Right.
And so that started the conversation. So what was that, 2005?
I believe so.
Yeah, it started the conversation, and it took about 4 years for us to really sit down and be like, look, let's do something purposeful as a group.
Okay.
So that didn't happen until 2009. So she's
Oh, okay.
she's
So it
did a
was that
lot
late.
of
Okay.
she's missed a lot of time
Yeah.
in between that. But
That's okay.
there was a lot of things that probably happened in life.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? As her being Felicia Loud in the soul.
Right.
so.
Right. right.
Yeah.
Well, we can go back. We can jump back and forth. For sure. It's all good.
We got to go back to the 90s for you too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I actually wanted to give even more context also because I didn't want to like totally date you guys, but you had mentioned the Roxanne Shante thing.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like high school era, and then also you were talking about Garfield, and I just kind of wanted to connect some of the dots for some people because we've had other famous Garfield alumni on the show, like Vitamin.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think Vitamin was a little after you, maybe, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's like a few years younger than you.
Yeah. Vitamin D.
I can't remember.
Is he younger than me?
Absolutely.
Well, was he in high school when you were in high school?
No,
or
he wasn't in high school with her.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get an idea of like what kind of
That
like
was-
what
that's
other
right.
what other people were like kind of out in the scene at that time. Like was John Moore Wordsayer? Was he? He
Yeah.
was kind of
Just
closer to
Siri
your-
Media Group.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. With Erica White.
Yeah.
Opindu.
Shout out Erica, yeah.
Tukas, and myself.
Okay.
And so, that we were.
Did John go to Garfield too?
John didn't go to
Okay,
Garfield.
Erica
John, I
did.
think, went
I
to
know.
Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
But
Hey.
Erica did.
Yeah.
Erica White's a bull.
Rough Riders.
That walking rough rider.
Hey.
But I wanted to say this too about that era. It's like, even with that, there was no Jasiri in that era.
Yeah.
Jasiri came. That was more 90s.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So we're talking about a different Seattle. We're talking about, when Judkins Park had the Black Community Festival and you see 10,000 people every day for 3 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
This wasn't a one-off. This was
Right.
every year. You would plan for this. People would come all the way from the Bay, from Canada,
Right.
from Portland, just to come up for this
We're
event.
talking back when like everything in Seattle was within 20 minutes.
Well, everything in Seattle was in 20
Remember
minutes.
that?
Yeah.
I get to West. I
Yeah.
get from North Seattle to West Seattle in
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about that.
I don't know
But you're talking about a Seattle that had high school all-city talent shows.
Yeah.
When
Right.
that was another platform. We used talent shows
That was
as
a
a
big
way
one
to
for a lot of people.
Hell
right?
yeah, because we were in high school. We were all coming up. We were young. We wanted to do something, exciting, special.
Yeah.
Something that was fresh. Hip hop was fresh.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you had all city talent shows, and before in talent shows you would have all these cover songs and all these theatrical pieces, and then hip hop started to play a role in that. So now you're getting cats up there beatboxing and
Right.
dancing and break dancing
And original
music
Original,
and
yeah.
and you're getting that. So it was a different era
Yeah.
at that time. But
And
this
hip hop was so new at that time.
Yeah, it
still,
was
you
so
know what
new.
I mean, not technically, but like on the West Coast,
Yeah.
in
Right.
Seattle, and
Yeah.
just for the masses, it was like brand new.
Absolutely.
You know what I
and,
mean?
and it was also the era where we were at Seattle Center.
Yeah.
We used to go to Seattle Center, have break dance. That's where the
Right.
B-boy battles and
Battles,
B-girls
yeah.
battles used to be.
Yeah.
Was at Seattle Center. Like, that was the mecca of that. You bring some,
Yeah,
some
Cardboard.
cardboard out,
linoleum.
linoleum out. Some people will carry it. You have your boom box.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You really go at it. Like,
Yeah.
can you dance, rap in?
Right.
Sing, and what else can you do? You do graffiti.
Right.
Can you DJ? It wasn't just can you rap or
Yeah.
how you dressed or can you just dance. It was can you do the whole elements of hip hop.
Yeah.
This culture thing, and so it was starting to develop here the same way it was starting to develop all over
Oh,
the
so
world.
so Preem was already like he was breaking, right? Supreme and Fever.
Yeah.
I think Kun Love was like around already a little bit,
Love,
right? In the
Kun
day. He
Love
hasn't
was on
really
the
started,
way
like,
up.
blowing
Kun Love-
up yet, but
yeah,
like
Kun Love wasn't there yet.
nah, but he
you
was
know what I'm
around
saying?
at the same time.
Yeah.
because I remember he was like in high school with Supreme and them.
Yeah, and
So,
then you
yeah.
got the DV1s.
Yeah,
and,
that's right, DV. Yeah.
So how long has Giorgio been doing his media program? Did that start in the
That's
80s?
funny you say that. I was talking to somebody today. I was talking to DJ Sean Malik. I don't know if you know him.
I
He
recognize
was in
the
the
name.
original group with me, Dyra Boys.
Okay.
Back in the 80s.
Okay.
We were young, coming up in this game.
Dope.
And we were talking about capturing footage. And we were talking about Giorgio.
Yeah.
And we are just talking about how much footage Giorgio really has.
Oh, man.
Giorgio has enough footage to tell the whole story about how the Northwest
Yeah.
really started to pop.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Like, he has tons of footage.
that was one of the coolest things about that exhibit they did at
Yeah.
the
Uh-huh.
at
Oh,
the
yeah,
at
Mohi.
Mohi. Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
was how
Yeah.
they just had that
Yeah.
ever running tape from
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the it was from the award show, but it was like from the 10-year anniversary, I think.
Yeah.
Was that right?
Absolutely.
Cool Out
It was a
10-year.
cool out 10-year, but then
Yeah.
it was like, but there was just so much great footage on
Yeah,
that.
sure
thing.
was.
And that's not, and I hate to say it like this, but that's not all the footage.
No,
Like,
yeah.
that's
Oh,
a small portion
piece. Yeah.
of the footage. Giorgio has the story that can capture the imagination of the public it can also tell the truth to some of these young folks who now they can understand the importance of why we honor each other in a certain way,
right.
why we know who each other is in a certain way, right? But if we don't ever tell that story, they're not gonna know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're gonna be like, yeah, you guys are just mad because you didn't make it. You're not on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? But if
the legacy is important.
But the legacy is very important.
Yeah,
Without
yeah.
a legacy,
To the
you're
whole
gonna
story.
keep changing things every 5-10 years.
For sure.
That's
that's kind of a big part of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And that's why we want to have people
Yeah.
like you guys on to tell your stories,
Right?
Because this shit needs to be documented.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, we
Absolutely.
need and not everybody. There hasn't been equal mic time for people to tell their stories.
And that's
You know
the
what I'm
other thing too. You know, we
Say
talked
that.
about dating ourselves, and I appreciate that. I really do. But I think it's also a badge of honor to say I've been around this long.
Yeah.
I'm still relevant. I'm still viable.
Yeah,
I'm
for
still
sure.
viable.
Definitely.
I'm full of life.
Yeah.
I still eat some of you cats up. You know what
A
I'm
lot
saying?
of
Don't get confused.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still sharp. I'm still here.
Yeah.
I'm still doing it. You know what I'm saying? There's still an impact. There's still a purpose behind it.
Yeah.
There's still a love for it.
I
you
think
know?
it's a very discussed topic of like
Yeah.
how hip hop is like kind of one of the only genres that really like once you get to a certain age, they just kind of cut you off and
Yeah.
you're just like not even relevant anymore,
Yeah.
and you can't be, you know,
Right.
versus like rock and roll or something like that, where you know you got the Rolling Stones out here and they're like 80 years
Yes.
old
And they're
still
rolling them
touring,
out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
making
saying?
bank, you
Yeah.
know, and they get all kind of love and praise.
They're
you know?
making more money than
there's-
ever.
Right.
In music itself, you know, in entertainment music itself, because, you know, acting's a different story. You can act until you're,
For
you
sure.
know,
Yeah.
whatever age,
sure.
right? But in music itself, you know, there is this idea that your age will no longer transfer.
Yeah.
And so even with,
Popular
you know,
music is for the youth, right?
popular, you know, but you had Michael Jackson, who
Right.
was not, you know,
Right.
he was popular, the man, you know, when it comes down to music, but he was of a certain age,
Right.
and then, you know, then it became, you know, how do you age this man to make it so that, you know, now, I don't know. You know, Michael Jackson, that's a totally different and
Yeah,
totally
it's-
wrong example.
right,
He's
right.
the icon.
He's the exception, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, of
him
course.
and
Yeah.
Prince,
Of
you
course,
know,
right.
are
Yeah.
the ones. But when it
Right.
comes down to, yeah, you're right. You know, in hip hop, and hip hop is young,
Yeah.
so it's like, how are you just gonna say people are too old for an
Hip-hop's
art
not
form
50
that's
yet.
Right.
that's less than 50
that's
years
that's
old?
the thing is that hip hop because we're of the age where we really literally grew up parallel to hip hop. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you know, I mean, I'm a little younger than you guys. Just a little.
You think?
I think. I don't say I look younger.
Yeah.
But no. But you know what I mean? Like,
We're all still like included in the same generation, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
But like, I
Absolutely.
feel like we've reached that point where now we're of age,
Right.
right? And so there is like, I mean, it sounds hokey when you say it, but there's like really good dad rap out there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like Jay-Z's last album was a dad rap album. You know what I mean?
Okay,
And that
I
shit was
got you.
fucking hot.
Yeah.
You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
You're talking
And-
about Andre 3000.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
not a baby. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
And every single feature he drops, every time he like, and he's one of those guys who's like, so he's, I mean, obviously I don't know the guy, but I think he's self-aware enough
Yeah.
to know that he's not part of that new stuff.
Right.
But like, oh man, I was just fucking with some remixes, and like he was on like the Walk It Out remix,
Right.
you know, and he just
Right.
destroyed
it.
you know. And then
Right.
and then there was some other guys that just were come up out of Atlanta, this Divine Council group, and he got a feature on there and just fucking murdered it.
Right.
And he's on the Frank Ocean, just dropping,
Yeah.
just,
Right.
you know what I
Heard
mean?
that one, mhm.
And so it's like it's
Erica
it's,
Badu. You could go on and on.
but that's what I'm saying. There's like
Jay-Z. You could
there's
go on and
hip hop
on.
is that broad now.
Yes.
I mean, we
We're
can't-
starting to grow to that place where it's becoming more accepted because of people like Jay-Z or who are on
Right.
such a huge level, and they're still coming out with stuff that's so amazing.
Yeah,
you know what I
but
mean?
the thing is, there are underground cats.
Absolutely.
There's this dude from
Always have
Oakland that I
been.
just got hip to. His name is ANT is how you pronounce it, like
Okay.
spell ant. But he's just
A&T.
he's this working class guy with a kid, lives in Oakland, and I just found him on Bandcamp. It was like they highlighted him, and I was and it's just straight proletariat rap, man. Just like working class. All I want to do is feed my daughter, but
Right.
I gotta pay these bills. But I love rap music, so I'm gonna make
Right.
this rap music.
Right.
And this shit's dope. It's just
Right.
really good.
Right.
But I know he's not appealing to these younger kids, but there is a place for that. You know what I mean? There's a place for grown ass music, hip hop.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yes, there is.
Place for grown ass behavior in this
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
somewhere.
But I think that, I think also it's starting to get to the point where, like, you know, there's groups like Far Side or
Yeah.
like
De La
you know,
still
Oh,
around.
of course, De La,
Yeah.
or like
Saying-
Grouch, right? Who's like
Yeah.
somebody who's super underground and has always been underground, never
Right.
really like
Yeah.
crossed over to mainstream success, but still has like a core fan base
Yeah.
that's like our age,
Yeah.
right? And is able to still like tour what he
Right.
wants and like
Right.
make enough money to just do hip hop and
Right.
not
Right.
have another job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or maybe he diversified his stuff and does other things also, but you know what I'm saying?
No,
Like,
absolutely.
that's his main thing still is like being known as like a rapper, and you know, he's mid 40s or something like that, and like, you know, I'm just saying like it's getting to the point where there's enough people who grew up with hip hop and that generation of like early 90s to mid 90s and stuff like that is now supportive enough of older artists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That they will still continue
And I
to
think the
support.
younger generation now too is listening to the '90s, right? Like
Yeah.
you get a lot of them now. They're into the '90s, into the genres,
Right.
Just like a
You know what I'm
decade
saying?
ago
The
or two
Fugees.
that everybody was listening to 80s music and
Right,
like, freaking out.
soul to soul, group
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
and you're like, they're like, ooh, and you're
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is hard,
Right.
And like, yeah, you know,
And
guys
that's all
know it's
getting
in the
sampled
90s,
now,
right?
too.
Yeah,
You
a
what?
lot of those songs like you were talking about, like, you know, that like 90s R&B vibe,
Right.
a lot of that is getting sampled now and
Exactly.
flipped on new hip hop songs.
Exactly.
You know, they'll take like an old
That's
Aaliyah
right.
joint and like sample it, or like,
Or like
you know, some
the New
Johnny
Jack
or
Swing
something,
comeback, you know?
exactly.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And that's the
Exactly.
wonderful thing about, you know, hip hop being the age it is, and us growing up in it and being the age that we are, is that that young people have a look. They can look at us. They can talk to us. They can see us. They can, and so it's not this long distance of like where a generation, like two generations of music have passed, and it's like, oh, remember jazz? And
Yeah.
everybody thought jazz was so old,
Right.
And
Yeah.
it used to be something where I was in school where people were like, you're taking jazz class?
right,
Why are you
right,
taking
right,
jazz
right.
class? Who listens? And it's like, no, you got to pay respect to the music. It doesn't matter if you know, if you don't like it, you don't like it. It ain't like, you know, you gotta like jazz or you gotta like this any kind of form of music. But to age something that is ageless.
Yeah. That's
Music has no age.
Right. That's
right.
Sound has no age.
right. Yeah.
So to age people and say that they can't practice the art that they themselves have created, they themselves have made,
Right.
is
They
ridiculous.
no longer can participate
Right.
because you're of an
Right.
age. What?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, I thought I was hip hop.
Right. If I'm hip hop, I got
Hip-hop-
aged out.
Yeah.
I got aged out. But it's also a beauty to watch, like the new generation have so much passion for it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you know, when you build something, you know, you have to have something that is a foundation. We always talk about foundations. What is the foundation that you're building off of?
Yeah.
Because are you starting over? Is everybody always starting over?
Yeah.
If you're always starting over, we're always going to be at 0. You never can get to 10. But
Right.
if we start, hey, look, you guys got it to 2. We're going to take it to 6.
Right.
Somebody else going to take it to 8. Then we're going to take it all the way up. That's cool.
Right.
I'm with that. But when you say, hold on, you did the 0 to 8 work, but we're not going to count that. Let's erase all that and let's start over.
Yeah.
Then you're
Yeah.
building from 0.
That's
You know
why I
what
have
I'm saying?
a big problem with anybody telling me how they were self-made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Because,
I
like,
do too.
Exactly.
I mean,
I do
and
too.
again, like, I'm not taking anything away from anybody who busts their ass and builds something, because you know. But like, you know, we all drive the same roads.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
right.
breathe in the same air.
Yeah.
You can't. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
absolutely nothing
Nothing
you
can
can do.
succeed. I like to tell all the youngsters I work with, you don't succeed or fail by yourself.
Nope.
There's no such thing. How?
Right.
Right.
How? Just explain it to me. Well, you know, I said, okay, so who supported that?
Yeah.
Nobody? Okay, so who's listening to it?
Yeah.
You know, nobody? Okay, so who does it affect? Nobody? Okay, so then you don't matter. It doesn't matter. If it matters to other people, then it means that there's somebody else included in that work.
Yeah.
Somehow, some way. It doesn't, you know, and maybe we're off topic. I don't know where we're going.
We're on
per
good.
se.
It's a good
We're good.
tangent.
But
Yeah.
it's a thing of like, you know, when you succeed, who helps you succeed? You didn't buy all your records. You didn't buy all your merchandise. You didn't go to all your shows. You weren't in, you know, you weren't the one that had your hand up and requesting your music on radio.
Right.
You weren't in the clubs requesting your music to DJs.
Yeah.
There were people dancing to that. There were actually people driving around listening to that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Going back to Seattle, you know, when there was a Seward Park, we'd go to Seward Park on Sundays and Saturdays, and the place was packed
Yeah.
from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill.
Right.
You'd have to get out and walk up. You know what I'm saying? That's playing music. Like, there's people around that are helping create the environments we're talking about.
Yeah.
We didn't do this by ourselves. I wasn't in the room by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Imagining 10,000 people every day at the Black Festival. I wasn't in the room by myself imagining getting from the bottom to the top of, Seward Park or the All City shows or, going to see Felicia Loud at Langston Hughes. There was other people there with me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And if they have, we would boo you
And
too.
if it was just you, it would have been a whack. It would have
Oh, it'd have been a horrible show. You know what I'm saying? Somebody say yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It would have been horrible.
But if nobody's there, who'd know that?
Right. Nobody would even know that.
That's like if the tree falls in the forest.
Right.
Who's gonna get right?
Nobody ever hears it land. You know what I'm saying? That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Word. All right. Well, just real quick, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick, but so we gotta take a quick break.
Yeah,
That's the one problem with
Drinking all the water.
having all the water and So,
Yeah.
That's all right.
But
It's good for
anyway,
your throat. It's
we
good
can get
for
right
your
back though.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
be good.
All right,
Absolutely.
take a break. Yeah, if you guys
Absolutely.
need to, feel free.
You guys hungry now? Like Brad keeps it pretty loaded back there. If you guys want some M&Ms or
Oh, that's sweet. No, thanks. I saw the snacks though.
do that.
You want anything?
Do you want some snacks?
No, I don't. Look. You talking about go get some snacks.
Joe, he's
Right. Hey, go and get some snacks.
get what you want.
Come on now. Stop playing.
Come
You
on.
go. You see that snacks in there. Go on back there.
over here.
Yeah.
I know what I like. I'm just trying to spread the love.
Yeah. Reason being is I have trying to change, getting older, changing the way I eat.
I hear you.
You see what I'm saying? And so,
It's my weakness. But I come here and it's hard not to indulge
of
a little
course,
bit. You gotta,
what is it? It's mainly. Ooh, excuse me. He keeps gotta chill. He does candy.
No, he's got like some. He goes to Costco, so he's got like some M&Ms,
Mm-hmm.
peanuts, M&Ms.
Right.
He's got these chocolate covered like toffee. It's like,
See?
It's like almond roca. It's just so good.
I'm leaving you alone. I'm leaving you alone, Joe.
So good.
You're gonna have to. So what I do though is, I didn't know that. Excuse me. Trader Joe's had so many sales and good prices.
They do.
Now their snacks are pretty can get pricey.
Oh fuck yeah! But you can
'Cause
also
they're-
get some pretty reasonably healthy too.
Yeah.
It's all real food.
It's all real food, and so
That's important.
but I was getting some of those snacks from there, and I like dried vegetables, like dried okra.
Ooh.
You had it?
Heat, yes.
Ooh, that
This is mine.
okra is a bad snack right there.
Trader Joe's dried okra.
Mm-hmm.
Once
I
get
think
it,
you get
haven't
it
tried that.
at Pike Place Market. Do you like okra?
Yeah.
And it has a really light taste. In my gumbo, I don't appreciate my okra as much. I don't appreciate the texture because but I do like it fried or I like it dry. One of the two. Oh, talk about snacks and food and dried okra.
Talk about snacks.
You know, if you talk about snacks with me,
That's how we're done with the snacks.
we come back with you.
I ain't get no snacks.
No, I'm just talking about coming back with telling your story.
You alright? I probably should have gone too.
I'm great now.
I'll pause it later.
Yeah, right.
That's the great thing about a recorded medium.
Yeah, you can add it.
Yes, please. I am very unaccustomed to interviews, so please feel free to edit me.
Oh, you're
Oh, bars.
Oh, bars.
Really?
Nah, honestly, it was fine though.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
No, it was good.
It was
I
good.
appreciate-
We will listen back, but
Yeah,
there's nothing that.
I listen back to every episode and I take notes and then we do and then it used to be him but now Lorenzo's doing our editing for us. And so
Okay.
we can
It's nice
we
having
can-
a team.
We always tell people this. We didn't really say this up front, but we're not here to TMZ you. You know, if you say something that you regret or you know what I mean, or you're like, oh, I shouldn't have.
Right.
You know,
Should've
we
said
can
it
always
like
just
that or
look at
whatever,
it.
yeah.
We're not here to put any bad blood out there in the world.
Yeah, I don't feel real.
Not that you guys have,
I'm
said anything
comfortable.
controversial.
I'm comfortable, but I'm
Yeah.
just
No,
letting
no.
it be known because I know.
No.
That's good. That's a big part of what I think both of us, I can say, speak for Mike, that we're really proud of is that we create a comfortable environment. And I
Yeah,
think that's
that's true.
I think that's what creates a certain authentic voice to our show
Yeah.
is that we're really just talking to people.
Absolutely.
And it's like we're having you over to our house and we're just shooting the shit.
shooting the
Yeah.
And that's what's cool for the listener because usually we're literally inside their ears, right? And they're listening to our voices and it makes it more personal. You know what I mean? And I think it's really dope to also when you talk about this game like hip hop or just media and everybody is so concerned with their image and all that, for somebody just to relax and be themselves. Like
Right.
that's how I think that's how you really can connect with an
Yeah.
artist and be like, oh, you know,
You get the best stories that way too.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we
That's what
kind
the
of
liquor's for too.
Yeah, well,
I saw
yeah,
that.
it helps. It helps.
Go have the whole bottle.
Yeah. No, but that's one thing that we do kind of pride ourselves on is that, like, and people, multiple people have told us this before, is like, yo, the reason I love you guys' podcast is because, you know, it just feels like you're, you know, sitting around with the homies chopping it up or whatever, and it doesn't feel like an interview.
Yeah.
as much, you know what I
That's
mean?
why I said what I said. I hope I'm not going somewhere we're not. 'cause
No, and that's
it
what we
just felt
love.
Like we were just talking.
And that's
the
exactly what we want,
conversation.
honestly. So like people think that too, like, oh, sorry, I'm going on this tangent, and like, no, that's what we like. to
It's
do.
better than me going on a tangent.
Yeah,
Next thing you know,
That's good.
yeah. There's no like set.
I mean, we
There's no set
started off talking
roadmap
about
for our,
I know
our
exactly.
interviews. You know what I mean? We don't plan it out like, okay, no, this guy's talking. You know, I mean,
Okay.
yes, we've had some guests that go way too far, for way too long. You know, we have to be like, go reel you back in a little bit. But no,
it's weird. Some MCs really like to hear themselves talk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. It's not funny.
That's not why I got into it.
Yeah, no, not at all.
You know, I promise. That's not why I got into it.
I don't remember what we stopped on.
I was waiting for a good spot for the.
But do you remember what the last thing we?
Well, I was just about to talk to Jason about.
Yeah.
Oh, by all
Get
means.
it more into his story.
You're already there.
All right.
Yeah, I had to pee, but I was still kind of navigating what we were doing. So
This is good.
TBP.
This is good.
yeah, all right, TBP. All right, you good? Okay.
We've done a couple of like little fake like fake commercials, like pretending we had sponsors.
Oh,
So
okay.
we like to do like you know, like in Living Color style, like you know what I
Yeah.
mean, like fake ads. So we did like some throwback '90s shit. We did like rigatoni, Tony,
It was for like a frozen,
like a frozen
pasta.
rigatoni pasta company.
Nice.
And then we did
Rigatoni Tony.
Bell Biv Depot.
Yeah.
It was like a superstore, like a Lowe's or a Home
Yeah.
Depot, but it
Yeah.
was like they sell
Bev,
all they
Depot,
sell is
Depot.
bells and bibs.
All the all they sell is
Depot.
bells and bibs.
Yeah. Shit, that'll work in my house right now. I got a grandson, so bibs will help
Yeah.
a lot, right?
And then
now.
what was the other one
Bells
we
too.
did? Oh, we did the Riddick bow tie.
Yeah, we did the Riddick bow tie.
Yes.
Riddick
So-
Bowe was so nasty, man.
Yeah.
He
Short-
was
very
like
short-lived.
short career.
Yeah, that was a one-hit wonder. We would
But
call
he got
it.
his own.
Yeah.
He got his own video game on the Sega Genesis, and he was out
Right.
What sport was that?
boxing.
Yeah.
Oh,
See, that's the
Riddick
thing.
Bowe.
You don't even know who he is.
You don't even know
Yeah.
what
I heard the name.
I think
heard the
who did he
name.
beat?
Yeah,
He beat
he
Evander
was shit.
Holyfield, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had
Okay.
3
When
fights.
Holyfield was the champ,
Yeah. He beat him.
he beat him and took the title.
Oh, the one that was always talking crazy. He used to talk
Yeah, he
like
used
he
to
was
talk
like
crazy.
big.
But I think he really
I
had
know.
a lot of issues with the brain.
Yeah.
'Cause he ended up
As
going
they
to
do.
prison.
Post. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a lot of crazy shit. Everybody was like, "This guy was dope."
That's what's crazy. Like I know you guys have probably heard about like all the Antonio Brown shit this year.
Yeah.
And like everybody, I've heard more than one like sports pundit say that he's never been the same since Burfict hit him.
Perfect hit him.
And Burfict just got his season ended for a
Right.
foul hit on somebody,
Right.
and he's been playing by the rules so much. But like that last time he got kicked out of a game, I
Yeah.
think was when he took out AB, and it was just a dirty hit.
Yeah, it was
And-
after the play. He ran and just.
And everybody's like, Antonio Brown has not been the same since he got leveled. And like speaking of, like from somebody with brain, like so when I was 18, I was hit by a car as a pedestrian. That's why I had some.
cars.
That's why I had some. I know.
Yeah.
But that's why I have some issue with my neck already. Was because of that. Because I was as a pedestrian hit behind my knee and then landed on my head on the concrete, and like. I was 18. I bounced back, you know, but like obviously I had some leftover issue, but I had a level 4 concussion, and they said that it was like level 5 is like brain dead, right? Level 4 is like personality altering.
Oh shit.
So like I'm a different person today because of that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm still me, but like I present
Right.
myself differently to the world,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
And so I actually came out of my shell after that. Like I kind of lost some fear, and I came out of my shell. Some people it does the other thing.
Right.
Some people might make them,
Right.
you know,
Right.
start deviant. You know, they might start doing things like,
They
you know,
normally wouldn't do,
Fearful.
but
it's like like some mean tweets about a girl they had relations with, like
right,
you
showing
know,
her kids.
you know,
Stupid
you never know.
shit. Right.
Oh,
Running
right.
for president.
Antonio started doing
Running
it.
for president. Becoming president. How about that?
Right?
How about becoming president?
God, dog.
And everybody makes excuses for you, like as opposed to
Not
saying,
everybody,
"Man,
but there's definitely a.
There's
So
enough,
maybe he had a
there's
concussion or
enough.
something at some point. Maybe that's what you're saying.
Sean?
It wasn't from sports. He definitely didn't play no sports, but
I mean, I think it's like they call it that one kid. Remember? Do you ever hear about that kid? And it was in Texas who was like driving drunk and like killed some people.
Yeah.
And then he got off. He was a rich kid.
Yeah.
And the defense was affluenza.
Yeah, affluenza.
They said he was just so.
They really
he had
used that?
They really
Yeah,
used the
he
affluenza.
got off for that.
He got off. He got some probation.
No,
Was that
absolutely.
his life was so easy and he had
telling the
everything
truth.
handed to him.
So I remember that.
Like you got to feel for this kid because he never knew the consequences of his actions because nobody ever taught it to
Nobody
him.
ever told him. So
And
when he
literally,
gets
like,
some
that's-
shit, it's like
That's sickening.
It's sick.
Yes.
It's sick. Yeah, it is. But I'm saying
way
like
too much privilege.
But you think about that. Like think about a person like Donald Trump and like what he's had handed to him and what he's had given to him just from his status in life. You know?
I'd rather not.
Everything.
Yeah, I know.
I know. I'm like, yeah, let's
we're
not
all
even
like,
go there.
I'm just saying like
But yes.
But no,
yes.
absolutely.
What I don't understand are the poor sons of bitches like in our pay grade that are supporting this guy. That doesn't make any sense to me.
They don't understand it either. That's the whole
They
problem.
don't either.
Yeah.
They don't. They really don't. If they did, they would think about it a little.
They're voting
differently.
against their own
their own interests.
every time.
Are we on?
I mean, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Cool.
This part won't be actually.
We don't
on
need
the
Donald
podcast.
Trump.
We don't need to
you
have
know
this
what
on
I'm
the
saying?
podcast.
Donald
Yeah, yeah.
No, but
FTC.
honestly though, that shit that you were talking about with like the Antonio Brown stuff is like, you know, that's a lot of the stuff that just like makes me hella leery about whether I should even like let my kids play football. You know what I mean? There's so
Yeah.
much new evidence about all the CTE and all that stuff. I'm just like, damn,
No,
that's
that's
scary,
a real
man.
issue.
That's a hard one. Yeah.
That's
A
scary.
hard one.
Because
That
you
is
love the
scary.
sport. You're like, the
Uh-huh.
sport is so good.
My
but-
my 5-year-old just turned 5 and he's like, "Dad, I'm 5 now. I can play football." He wants it so bad. He sees me watching. He's like,
Yeah.
you know, he wants to be Russell Wilson, man.
Yeah.
But he actually he doesn't want to. He's got a good arm. My 5-year-old, I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, Dad, I want to be a catcher. And he's like, I run so fast nobody could catch me. I was like, you say that.
All right.
Catcher,
a catcher? A receiver?
Yeah, he wants to be a receiver.
Yeah.
He said, I want to be a catcher.
Yeah, catcher. That's
Yeah.
catching the ball.
Yes,
Catcher.
absolutely.
I know. Luckily, me and my wife, we're both way more basketball fans than football.
Yeah.
But, you
Yeah,
know,
Sonic's broke
still,
my heart.
You know.
Yeah,
Kind
well,
of, you know, it's where their heart is. You know, you kind of you got to let them
I know.
live
Yeah.
where their heart's at.
really
And that's it right there.
Protect them as much as you can.
I
Tell
know,
them
but
the
like with
best
something
things
like that, you can't protect them.
No,
No,
you
you
can't.
can't.
Right? They're
You
just
hoping
banging
that
their
you,
hands
you
together.
just
and,
stay there and you do your prayers.
But you know
and
what?
hope
You
the
could be
equipment will work
you could
for
be
'em.
driving with just enough with the right amount of space in front of you on I-5 and just get rear-ended one day.
and they're sitting at a
You
standstill.
just never know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Life.
crazy. Life is something, man.
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
All right.
We get back ready?
We're deep. We got deep enough, guys. Let's
All right. All right.
no more whiskey drink for you.
No more for me.
You guys
Put
need
the
anything
shades
else?
on. I know what it is.
You about to pull out the gazelles, Joe?
Yeah, straight Scott Storch on it. I forgot all about
Yeah,
that. Too.
that's
That was funny. Yeah.
All right. All right. So, okay. So Jay,
Yes.
you know, we talked a little bit about, you know, Felicia's come up in the game, her story.
Yeah.
Let's get a little bit more info on your backstory. Are you from Seattle as well?
Yeah, I was born in Seattle, Washington.
All right.
University of Washington Hospital.
Okay.
Or Group Health. Whatever they call it nowadays.
Was that Group Health?
I mean, it was different. Like they had
It was up by
UW
UW?
had its hospital. Group Health was in that area.
Group Health
My
was in the
parents
CD,
came up
right?
here from they
Yeah.
came up here from Richmond, California.
Okay.
My mother's from Louisiana.
Okay.
My father's from Texas. They migrated to California like a lot of families did back at that time.
Yeah.
Grew up in Richmond, California. Richmond, California, if you don't know, is in the Bay Area.
Yes, sir.
Close to Berkeley.
Yeah.
I was telling the story yesterday to Felicia about this tunnel that led from the side where my mother lived on to the side where my father lived on.
Okay.
It was a different experience on each side of that tunnel. So my mother grew up, she had a big family. My father grew up, he had a big family. The mother and father, my grandmother and grandfather were both in the home of both of my parents. My father was a great athlete. He would tell you he was the first 3-point shooter ever. You know what I'm saying? My mom was an athlete, but she was more of a scholar.
Okay.
Really into, you know, having knowledge and finding out what's going on. She did a lot of research. They met in Richmond, California at a house party when house parties used to be the thing when you
Yeah.
could turn off the lights and,
Yeah.
you know, bump and grind a little bit.
Right.
And not get in trouble for it. You
Right,
know what I'm
right,
saying?
Might have a kid.
Yeah, have a kid at the party. You never know.
At the party.
You know what I'm saying? But, you know, they grew up in Richmond, met in Richmond.
Yeah.
My father was a little older, so he had the experience of having an older child before him and my mother made their relationship. So I have an older sister that lives in Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
2 boys. So they're, one is an artist. So I just wanted to throw that out there, send them a little love.
Right.
But they moved up from Richmond, California, moved to Seattle, Washington. My father was also a Black Panther, or an original Black Panther.
Right. I was just gonna say Richmond is like just outside of Oakland.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like, yeah.
And a lot of people who know the Panthers give credit to Richmond for being the first home of the Panthers, as opposed to Oakland.
Right.
But he was a Panther. They moved up. My mom was, like I said, she was a rebel. You would call her a Pan-Africanist. Moved up to the Northwest.
Right.
Wanted to give their children a different start. Wanted to start a family first, but wanted to give us a different start. I have an older brother, so he was born here. Then I was born here. They went to the University of Washington. We lived on the north side of Seattle, North Seattle, which was totally different than where I grew up. But it was north side of Seattle, close to the University of Washington.
Right. Well, because what area did you grow up in?
I grew up in South Seattle.
Okay.
So the area I still live in, more 48th Street, Frontenac.
Okay.
Close to Othello.
Okay. Yeah. So just
close
south
to
of Columbia
Graham.
City.
Yeah. South of Columbia City, where now it's cool to be. Where before, it was a scary place.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Grew up over there. Moved. My family moved to South Seattle probably when I was about 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
Came into an area where I was like, what the hell is going on over here? This is different than the north end of Seattle. Didn't understand.
First you were in the north end.
Yeah. So we grew. So when they came here, we moved to the north end because they went to school. They went to the University of Washington.
Oh, I see. And you were like near the U District?
Yeah, we were near the U District, Northeast 57th Street.
Okay.
McDonald Elementary, right up the street.
Yep.
I remember all of that. So grew up over there till I was about 8 years old. Then moved to the south end of Seattle.
Yep.
Went to Brighton Elementary.
Okay, right in there.
Yeah, I'm right in the hood. Got bused to McClure Middle School up here in Queen Anne. Me and my brother.
Yeah.
And then after that, my mother and father took us out of public schools.
Okay.
Right when I was on my way to high school.
Yep.
I was a good athlete.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I really thought I was going to be an NBA basketball player. I really did. Like I had the mentality for it. I really believed that.
Yeah.
Studied the game. But my mother and father also wanted us to make sure, and I say us because I have brothers and I have sisters, they wanted to make sure that we knew, more than just this short time period. Like we were talking about a little bit before about, the limit on how long you get to do something. You're only going to get to play professional basketball for so long. They were like, what are you going to do after that? So that my mom was really into books and really into history and knowledge. And my dad also was. But my mom was kind of the driving force. So when we moved to the South End and went to Brighton and went to McClure, my mother and father started their own school my first year of high school.
Oh, crazy.
Took me out of school, took me out of public school. So I didn't get to go to Franklin. I didn't get to go to Garfield. I didn't get to go to Nathan Hill, Cleveland, Rainier Beach. None of that. I didn't get that experience. Great experience. Went to a school called Garvey School. It was a college prep school, K through 12. It was about getting us prepared for college, but also preparing us for life.
Okay, so it wasn't just a homeschool.
No, it wasn't a homeschool.
They started an actual school.
Yeah, it was
for
actual
other
school.
kids.
It's about 6 families.
Okay.
They started a school, all black, college prep in Seattle, Washington. Very interesting.
Named after Marcus Garvey.
Named after Marcus Garvey, absolutely.
Right.
And then we had some great experiences. Like I got to meet some of the great authors, Ivan Van Sertima, Francis Cress Welsing, Dr. Ben Yakanan.
Dope.
And they came to the school, and it was an interesting experience because it taught us a little bit about loving ourselves and being prideful and being like, look, I could do that. I could write a book.
Yeah.
I could go out on a lecture tour. I could still be cool and fresh and still do all these different things and, still share my experiences. But for me, I was always in love with hip hop. Like I fell in love with this thing. My mother and father used to do the Sundays, wake up early Sunday morning smelling breakfast and Pine Sol and all of that, and windows open, doors open, and music blasting.
Yeah.
They would do the house parties and invite the family friends over and tell you get out the room because you're not old enough to be in here. But you would see the records playing. You would see Earth, Wind, and Fire and Ohio Players and Dionne Warwicks and, all these different styles of music, from blues to jazz to soul to rock and roll to disco. Like I was hearing all this stuff.
The quintessential 70s.
The quintessential
Black experience.
70s. You know what I'm saying? And it was a wonderful experience. And so, you know, when they took us out of school, I was like, okay, my love now is something else. You know, I'm not gonna play sports.
Yeah.
Didn't really miss it like that. Like, I love the game still to this day. You know, I love my Seahawks. I love the Sonics when they were here. You know what I'm saying? Mariners, come on, get a little work in. You know what I'm saying? The Sounders are definitely doing their thing and making their mark. And, you know, the Storm has won championships. You know, so I still love sports, but I love myself a little bit more. And so using that knowledge and combining it with hip hop, which was something that went against the grain. You know what I'm saying? That was the beauty about hip hop, is like, we weren't trying to be popular, we were trying to be infamous. Yeah. If I will, like, you know, okay, if this is popular, we want to do something else. Right. You know what I mean? And it kind of went along with my raising, my rearing, my growing, my understanding. And so I fell in love with this thing called hip hop around 84. Yeah. Roxanne played a role in that because, you know, UTFO was Roxanne's backup when she was getting dissed and, you know, all these different things. And so I got a chance to see that. I talked about DJ Sean Malik a little earlier, first person that did production for me. We had the Casio keyboard. You know, we were in the closet. You know what I'm saying? It was 4 of us in a closet. You can't talk while the other person's performing or rapping. You can't. You get one take. You know,
just one mic.
One mic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, step up to the mic. You know what I'm saying? So I had that experience with DJ Sean Malik and my brother, and started to just fall in love with this thing called hip hop. And grew up, like I said, I was in the South, in Seattle. So there was experiences that I had from being in the hood. Right. You know, knowing some of my partners and who became some of the biggest cats in the hood to some of the cats who did the most time ever out of the hood, and creating relationships with these type of people and understanding that, you know, the balance between the north end of Seattle and the south end of Seattle was totally different. The balance between the knowledge and the streets was a little different. Yeah. But understanding that this thing called hip hop could tie it all together. And then including that experience from the Bay. Like, that's where all my family was. It's my cousins were, my uncles were, my aunts were. You know, it's my mother and father's family were. So, you know, I give a lot of credit to both of them. May God rest both their souls. And I miss them a lot. But, you know, I kind of went back a little bit. But, you know, just giving us that experience, going to the Bay Area, learning a little bit about.
Yeah, did you guys used to like go back there on?
We went every year.
Like
we went every year. When my mother and father traveled the world, because they did that together back in the day. Like, they did it together, and I thought that was interesting. But they would leave us in the Bay. We wouldn't stay in Seattle. We'd go to the Bay and spend the time there.
Like in the summer? In
the summers or whenever they decided to go. If it was the spring, the fall, the winter. It was like, you guys are going to go sit over here for 3 months. Yeah. Sit over here for 4 months. And you're going to be with your family. You're going to learn your family. So
that's
I think
one thing that, like, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's great.
Like, one thing that I have always kind of recognized is, like, Seattle's connection with the Bay, and especially Bay Area hip hop, has been like super influential. I feel like on Seattle's sound, especially like from the '90s and stuff. I mean, we always had our sound, which was kind of taken from lots of different places around the country. And you know, it kind of made our own Seattle sound very diverse, right? We didn't have like that much of a regional sound. Our regional sound was like kind of everything. You know what I mean?
That was the beauty
But at the
of
same
it too,
time, like the 90s especially, we had a lot of like Bay Area influence because it was like kind of the closest hip hop hub you know, to us.
E40 and the Click used to be up here all the time.
That's what I mean.
Like, you catch them at the Black Community Fest. You catch them rolling down 23rd or Rainier. You know, and it was interesting at that time because we didn't go Google for it. It was kind of like they're here. You know what I'm saying?
It was regular.
It was regular. It wasn't something out of the ordinary. It wasn't something where you were like, okay, you're waiting for them to show up. They show up, and you knew they were coming. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they made their own relationships within the community.
Right. That's how like DMS was popping, right?
Absolutely. That's how DMS got popping for sure. Yeah. You know a little bit about this history.
Oh man,
I see.
we're from here, man. You know, like we came up in this too.
I still have my DMS CD.
Yeah. You know, Silver Shadow D and Lost and Found.
Yeah.
And, you know, you had a lot of different things. LSR. You had a lot of different people and a lot of different things going on. And like you said, it was so diversified, right? We didn't talk about it, but you'd have gangster rap with conscious rap.
Exactly.
You'd have party rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? With the boom bap stuff, and it was all like together.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like that's what kind of created that Seattle sound, was that we had that West Coast influence. So we had like the G shit was obviously, I mean, infectious. You
Absolutely.
know? And then. But then it was, you know, we had some groups from here that just sounded like they were an East Coast group because they were just like that's what they vibed with.
Yeah.
But then like I feel like similar to the Bay, we're kind of in an amalgamation of all that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? We're just that mixture, and that's
more,
what made
more like Far Side and Hyro kind of vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
like
there
you
you
think
go.
about the
Right.
the
There you
Bay.
go.
The Bay has like the hieroglyphics end, and then they have the E40 end. They have,
Right.
like, you know, Dell to E40 is a long path, but those are two creative giants.
Right.
You know what I mean? In their own
and
right.
they worked together in those areas. Like
Yeah.
they didn't separate each other.
Yeah, no,
Like,
they all
bring your
like,
artists, bring
represented
my
the
audience.
Bay,
That's what we
and
do.
came up at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To diversify is important. I think that's the essence of hip hop. There's
Yeah.
a diversity in it. I think, you know, when it becomes one way, it becomes cookie cutter.
Yeah.
It becomes really homogenized to what hip hop is. Like hip hop wasn't in a box. That's why I loved it. It wasn't kept in a box. It wasn't like, you gotta do this.
Yeah.
It's like, if you like this and you like that and you like this and you like that, combine all that shit.
Well, and that was how, like, I mean, I had to, like, I was lucky. Part of it was just like, I gotta like give some credit. Like, I think I reaped the rewards of that busing system, in that I had a lot of different friends from a lot of different parts of town with a lot of different backgrounds, and so like me and Miguel, like we had a pretty diverse group of friends. Of like,
We've been friends since like middle school.
like
so.
sixth grade.
Yeah, so
Dope.
So like,
Nice.
so we went to Summit.
Okay.
You know, so
Okay.
there's heads from Summit that were from the South End.
Yep.
There's heads from the North End.
Yep.
You know, and some kids that just didn't quite fit into any end, and they just put them at Summit. You know?
Right. Right.
because it was an alternative school.
Yeah.
Right.
So, you know, like it was a place where, at least for me, like I chose to go to that school. You know what I mean? Because it was kind of an arts-based school.
Right.
And I went to alternative school for elementary school too, because it was like a bilingual type education, right? Where there was like influence with Spanish and stuff. And so my
Right.
family was like, okay, well, you know, we want you to go to this. It's like they're hippies, and you know, they wanted us to go to like some different kind of school.
Yeah.
It wasn't just
Yeah.
like straight, you know, straightforward public school education. So
That's great.
but a lot of people, you know, think when they think of alternative school, they think of, oh, you got expelled or
Yeah,
something.
you
so
got
you
your
had to
back
go to
kicked.
you had to go to
Yeah,
Sharpless or
yeah,
Marshall.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And it's like there was a couple schools that weren't just that, where you had to go to night school and shit
Right.
like that. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? And so that's what Summit was. And so like for both of us, our parents wanted us to go to this school. You know
Right.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so
Right.
we went there, but there was a lot of kids that was their only option because they had gotten expelled
Yeah.
from other schools. So it's like this huge, you know, range of
Yeah.
like different peoples, different socioeconomic statuses, and all this kind of stuff, right? And so
Sound like life. Sound like
it
art.
was,
You know what I'm
and that
saying?
was the dope
Yeah.
part about it. It's like
Yeah.
you meet lots of different people from different walks of life, different places, different parts of town, and
But
you know.
we all, I mean, like, obviously a big part of the reason why we're still friends is we bonded over music. You know,
Absolutely.
we just vibed with, especially hip hop.
Absolutely.
And so, and that's one thing, like, personally, like, that I could say, like, what I feel like what hip hop brings out is that you get that opportunity to really, like, nobody truly shines unless they come with an original voice. You know what I mean? In hip hop. And then, like, the ability to be yourself, but it's like, if you're filthy, it's like, if you got talent, then can't nobody really
Right.
say shit to you.
Right, they can't.
Like, you can be the nerdy motherfucker, but you're
Right.
you're filthy. So it's
You're
like
filthy.
they can't really fuck
Yeah.
with you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And
And that's what I love about it. You know,
Yeah.
that's like one of the things that brought me to it too.
Yeah,
Was-
I love the competition that it used
Yeah.
to be. Right? Like you get a mic snatched on stage if
Right.
it was whack,
Yeah.
and
Battle
it didn't
aspect.
mean you couldn't do it anymore. It meant you better go home and tighten your shit up.
Right.
You
Come
know
back
what
up.
I'm saying? And,
Go home.
and that's what it was. It's like ultimately we want you to be at your best.
Yeah.
If you're gonna get up here and perform for all of us,
Right.
be at your best. Like I don't want to go to a game and watch somebody who can't do what I'm coming to pay and watch them do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see somebody who can't throw a ball 30 yards, you know what I'm saying, be the quarterback.
Right.
Like, you're not ready to be the quarterback. I don't care that you look the part.
Yeah.
You can only throw the ball 20 yards.
Go home and practice.
You're not the quarterback.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, you can't pass, but you're the point guard because you look the best in your uniform. And I think that's the beautiful thing, like, with hip-hop, is all these diversities, it still was a thing of skill. Like, hey, get your shit tight. You know what I'm saying? Don't come up here representing us in some old screwy way because we don't know who's paying attention. And if we set a tone of mediocrity being acceptable, then that becomes the norm as opposed to becoming the exception.
Yeah.
And we're kind of seeing that in real time, aren't we?
We speak to that a lot, honestly, on this podcast. That comes up a lot because you know,
we've through technology has grown accessibility, and a lot of people have an opportunity to create a platform for themselves that don't really belong on that platform. Right?
Absolutely, I agree.
And it kind of goes back to what you were saying about, you know, if it doesn't come from here, then, you know, if it doesn't come from here, then, you know, it's not genuinely you. You know, I'm paraphrasing a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there is this thing about what sells.
Yeah.
And what may be a part of you is what the record label may not want. What they want is the other part. What they want is the visual. What they want is a character of who you are. What they want you to do is play a character of yourself. Yeah. And so, you know, that's difficult in itself because you're now grappling with, you know, how do I embrace all parts of me and not have someone use one aspect of who I am in order to gain recognition, because you can live life lovely for a few years or you can live life lovely for the rest of your life. It just depends on what it is you want to give up and what it is you want to keep. You know?
That's right.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I just on Instagram, I just started following a '90s legend, Easki, right from the Bay.
Okay, yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, so I keep coming up across like I used to listen to that dude. I'm gonna follow him on IG, right? Yeah. So and then he was sharing an old video of Wise Intelligent from Poor Righteous Teachers.
Yeah, I saw that. I got that on my phone.
Yeah. So it was interesting because it was an older video and it was talking and that's just right there, like speaking on the dichotomy of hip hop, right? You got Easki, who's like a producer of like that Bay Area, like JT, the Bigger Figure, like San Quinn, like definitely more G shit.
More G shit.
Right,
more G shit.
Absolutely.
But he's here sharing something from like the Poor Righteous Teachers, which was quote unquote conscious
rap
know?
on the East Coast.
I'm just saying, there are definitely conscious gangsters in the world, you
absolutely.
know, and
absolutely.
And I think people get it, but I think people who weren't really listening at the time that we were and weren't really absorbing what the content didn't understand they couldn't differentiate.
They said people fell in love with the beat as opposed to listen to the lyrics. And I think that happened, you know, on purpose. Like, you know, if you want to dumb somebody down, just don't tell them not to listen to what's being said.
Well, and that's
You know what I'm
something that Wise Intelligent was talking about in the video. It was at some hip hop summit.
Yeah,
you know?
I shared that. Yeah, I shared that.
Yeah, so maybe I even saw it from you, but it was because it was talking exactly to the thread about to the thread of what we're talking about like it seems that there were powers that be that decided the direction that hip hop was going to go as far as mainstream. And it's funny because like I mean it's like there's a rapper I'm a big fan of, like Mike Eagle, who's created his Open Mike Eagle has created a pretty big lane for himself, but he was I think he was talking about dating some girl and like he would go to meet their parents and then he didn't want to say he was a rapper just because of all the thing that came along with that. Because he's not a typical rapper. He's definitely like he's very artsy.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, he's a real unique dude and he's filthy with the flows, but he just didn't want to be like didn't want to be put in that box.
Right.
You know what
There's
I mean?
a negative connotation that comes along with the term a rapper.
Well, you know, rap is something you do, hip hop is something you live.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing too, is like, you know, really understanding, like, you could be a dope rapper and a foul individual.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You really can. We're watching it, right?
Yeah.
We're watching some foul individuals who people love, who think are very good rappers.
Right.
But when you're talking about building something, and that's what we're talking about with culture, like hip hop. When I talk about hip hop, I'm talking about the culture of it, like the essence of it. Like there is diversity in it. I was listening to Too Short talk to Talib Kweli.
Yeah, I was just listening to that earlier today.
Right,
too, yeah.
he was just talking about, you know, it blows his mind when an educated woman who's went to school and did all this goes to the club and just lets it all go and is dancing
to hear blow the whistle, blow the
You know
whistle,
what I'm saying? And it blows his mind because he's like, you know, I thought you were on this level. But I think the one thing about people that make us so unique is the diversity of who we are and what we represent.
Yes.
Like you can be conscious and still love sexy shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You could be conscious and still like to get out every once in a while and flex a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And for me, I think that's what hip hop was for me. It was that, I could be proud of who I am. I could love all this, but I still like to flex. I still want to shine.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I still want to be out here a little bit. I still want to be looked at.
Right.
I still want to be heard in this way. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
I you know, just like with the shades, right?
I'm a hippie. And
You know
I
what I'm
don't give a
saying?
fuck, 'cause like I'm straight social. I'm a socialist. You know what I mean? Like I'm a socialist hippie.
Exactly.
Are the glasses?
You know, the glasses, you know what I'm saying?
But I got these shits. I got these on prescription because I'm a union member.
Right.
You know what I'm
You know
saying?
what I'm saying? That's right.
I got them
Represent
good.
yourself.
I got them good benefits.
No, but what you were saying though,
Yeah.
The listener doesn't know I just put on my filthy shades. Let them know.
got it
Yeah.
in character.
Yeah,
No,
right.
but I think that's so real though, because like, you know, you think about some of the most respected MCs, like, okay, for example, Tupac, right? It's like obviously people, you know, think of him as like one of the greatest, right? But like
Yes, definitely.
such a contradictory message in different songs of his, right? I mean, he has like so many like thugged out songs, or, you know, songs where he's like, you know, talking about bitches and whatever, but then like he has like Dear Mama and Keep Your Head Up, and they're like some of the most like honored, respected songs towards women, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not even just the women part, but just in general, his whole life was just like so
His whole
contradictory, right?
Right.
It's like he's like this super educated, you know, like son of a Black Panther, and he's like, you know, he knows what's going on. He's very
Absolutely.
conscious, but
Right.
then he's just like talking about all this thug shit and too at the same time, right? And like depending on what song you're listening to, it's like a totally different person, right? And it's like it's I'm just saying, it's like I think that shows it's very human.
Absolutely.
Right? You know what I mean? It really shows that we are contradictory people, and like, you know,
Absolutely. No, and there's no such thing as a perfect person.
right? You're not going to be conscious all the time.
No, you're not. I mean, you know, when you think about it, it's like I was sitting here and I was thinking about a way to say it, but it's like somebody who talks about money all the time, like in love with money. But then what do you do with your money? You know, it's one thing to love the money and get the
Getting the
money,
money.
but what do you do with it? If
Once
you
you
go
get it.
out and you spend all your money on material items,
Right.
then
What do
you
you
know
really have
you're
to show for it?
yeah. What do you got to show for it when it's over? You know what I'm saying? Then you can't complain about what happens to your children because you didn't invest in nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But if you're about getting money and you're like, look, I'm gonna help build some schools.
Right.
I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna help some children. I'm gonna do this. I'm
Right.
gonna involve myself and engage myself in this.
Right. And all of
And
a
that
sudden,
money
getting
still
money
allows for
becomes
me,
positive, right?
to still take that vacation to Vegas.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
enjoy that fight, or go outside the country and enjoy 2-3 weeks with my wife. It's still the same thing. Like, you know, you can use it for both. And I think what people fall in victim to is they think things are only one way. Like you can only do it one way. That's why when we're talking about age, right? You have to be this age. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, Pearl Jam, you know, The Who, you know, all these guys, they're
Eddie
touring the
Vedder-
world.
Eddie Vedder just got on stage with The Who.
You see what I'm saying? And I saw that because, you know, I'm friends. I met his wife at an event for the residency, and I saw that, and I was like, wow, it's interesting how these guys will be able to do 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But if I told somebody I was around in hip hop for 30 years, they'd be like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" Like it's almost gonna make them throw up.
Right.
You know, you're like, really? You
Right.
should be happy.
It's like they almost lose respect once
Right.
you get to that point.
Exactly.
Right?
As opposed to, you know, I heard Nas say recently, you know, stop celebrating Illmatic.
Yeah, yeah.
I get why he said it.
Yeah.
But Illmatic's a classic, bro.
Yeah.
You can't take a classic and throw it away because you're frustrated. Why don't you just say to him, look, I respect what you respect from Illmatic, but I've done 10 albums since.
Yeah.
I've elevated, matured since. There's other elements to me. Illmatic is still a part of me, but there's other parts of me too that I want you to understand about me as well.
And I think that's what he meant, but he just probably didn't, like,
but the way
verbalize it
they're gonna say it is,
Yeah.
don't celebrate you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's funny though is like I saw De La perform. They did. It was like I think the last time I saw him, it was when they did the Rock the Bells tour. It was like when what's his name was filming that Tribe documentary.
Oh, Michael Rappaport.
Michael Rappaport was filming that Tribe documentary because that was the year that Farside did Reunion 2, and that's one of just my favorite groups from the
Farside's
90s.
dope.
And,
Super dope.
And it was the reunion show.
Super dope.
And so something that De La does is like whenever they perform Me, Myself, and I, they change the chorus and about how much, and they just talk about how much they hate this song. But they keep the beat going. They keep the happy, good, lucky vibes. I tell you why I hate this song. And they just do it, but it's so dope. Like then they know, like, you can't do a De La show and not play Me, Myself, and I.
No.
Right.
Fuck, they know what the fans want.
Yeah.
But they can still have fun with it and like,
Right.
I don't know.
They feel like it doesn't represent them.
It does. That's not who they are. They're not the Daisy Age anymore.
Right,
It's no
right,
longer
right.
the Daisy Age.
Right. But that's the song that we all kind of, and
That was the
I don't
first
think
song
there's
to blow
anything
them up.
wrong with that. We remember greats. We remember artists, Mozart's. We remember Michelangelo's. We remember them for the work that they did in the past, and we honor it, right? And I wonder if they were here today. People say this all the time, like, if this artist was here today, would you even give a shit about this artist? Would you care? Would you respect this artist? Or would you call them old?
Right. Yeah.
Would you just dismiss them for their contribution because they're not 25 in 2019?
Yeah.
Like, does it mean that what they did has no place, purpose, or value? Or does it mean that, maybe it's something you should look at? Maybe study that.
Yeah.
Maybe figure out how do you do that? How do they create that? You know what I'm saying? And then try to not mimic it, but try to create your own masterpiece based off of what you've learned from what was done before. Like, I don't feel there's nothing wrong with that. That's one of the great things I love about being able to take this trip coming up. It's like where we're going. It's like they love music for good music.
Yeah.
It's dope music. It's dope music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I feel like we've gotten on so many tangents. We haven't really haven't talked to you about you guys for a half hour.
I know. I do want to talk about this trip and everything, but just real quick before we get there, let's just give a little bit more of the timeline,
Okay.
just so people can kind of understand.
Otherwise, we're not doing our job.
Okay, let's do our job.
So we know what was the name of your first group with DJ
first group
Shamalik?
was Dyra Boys.
Dyra Boys. Okay.
Yeah, so
that was like mid '80s, kind of.
That was mid '80s.
And then what was like the next kind of evolution?
Well, I went away
after
to
that?
school. So what happened was with the Dyra Boys, one of our main members, one of our contributing members was a DJ.
Okay.
His name DJ DD. We had two
you
DJs.
had two
We had
DJs.
DJ DD and DJ Shamalik. Shamalik was more the producer, engineer type. DJ DD was more the scratchologist.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? He was more that type hype guy. He was murdered, shot in his head across the street from his home. And that kind of devastated all of us.
Right.
His mother had just been killed by his brother.
Oh damn.
Right before that, and then right after that, he was shot in his head.
Sheesh.
And so it was a tough time.
Yeah.
Just for us as young folks, and just kind of trying to deal with this. So after he passed, I went away to school. I went away to Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
My mother and father, like I said, my mother was a very smart woman. Very into knowledge. My father was too, but my mom was really the core of that.
Yeah.
And so went away to school, went to Norfolk, Virginia.
What school is that?
Norfolk State.
Okay.
Norfolk State, right off Corporal Avenue, right there in the heart of Norfolk, Virginia. And I got in tons of trouble, man. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I got so much shit. I don't even know if I should be talking about this on air. The things that I did there. But eventually, I got kicked out of Norfolk, Virginia, the state. Like, I got kicked out of Virginia. I was given an ultimatum. You want to live? Yeah. You want to live or go to
Virginia's
jail?
for lovers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Not you.
Yeah, right. No, I guess I wasn't loving right. You know what I'm saying? So I got kicked out. But the blessing was when I came home, I had a daughter.
Okay.
And that changed my life. you know, I had these great parents. They were knowledgeable, were part of revolution, were part of intellect. They were giving me these great experiences. But, you know, when you have an opportunity to leave and go away, and that's your first time being able to do that, sometimes you can lose your mind.
Yeah.
But remember, I was also exposed to the streets and to the game in Richmond, California, and the Bay Area, south of Seattle. So I was trying to balance who I wanted to become.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of there. And when I got kicked out, I came home and had this beautiful daughter, Kiera, Kaylin, and that was my first daughter. And she changed my life. Like, she literally changed my life. It made me realize how beautiful life is, like how important it is to be here and to be a part of her life and to share my experiences with her as she got older. She's my twin. You know what I mean? If you saw her today, you'd be like, oh, shit, that's your twin for real. Like, people see her and they'll say, I know who your dad is, type shit. And so she became a focal point of my life, and I was still trying to balance a little bit of who I was and what I wanted to represent and how I wanted to make my mark on this planet. And so, you know, I was able to reconnect with a young lady who I had known since we were 13 years old. And she had a daughter, Sierra, and we reconnected, and I've been with her for the last 25 years of my life. But we connected and started a family, and the beautiful thing about that is that she allowed me to be an artist. Like, she really supported that. She was like, this is who you are, this is what you represent, this is what you're good at. You know what I'm saying? Go out and get a 9 to 5, you're gonna get fired next week. You know, that's not you. But I also had a mother and father who were around, like, you got to take care of this family. You got to do your part. I don't care how you hustling, but you better hustle to take care of this family, and you better not go to jail because I'm not getting you out. You know, so it was a balance, and through that, you know, I was able to then meet Silas Black. I met him in 1994. I believe at Langston Hughes. Going back to Langston Hughes. Was a all-city showcase. It was a battle to see who was gonna win the money. So I came out hard. He came out hard. And we were looking at each other like, oh, who's this cat? You know, and we were really, it was that MC thing. Like, does he got it? What's he saying? How's he pulling it off? All these things. And so we kind of were battling each other. And then, you know, like I said, using sports, we went back to the sports. And so I challenged his group against my group to play basketball. And we started to go out every Saturday and just play ball against each other. You know what I'm saying? Just so we could get to know each other and know who's what.
And we had him on, and I know he's from... Is he from
North Carolina?
North Carolina, so very close to Virginia. Not the same.
Yeah, I didn't know him when I was out there.
No, but I'm saying, like, was that part of how you guys connected? Did you guys have?
No, it was more over the rap.
It
was more like, I'm gonna eat you up. Who are you, man? You know what I'm saying? You looking too fresh. You know what I'm saying? It was that. It was that healthy challenge to one another. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are, but I'm gonna go hard. You gonna go hard, and he appreciate what I did. I appreciate who he did. Our groups came together. We started playing ball. And then after a while, you know, we started to see that we had a lot of similarities for the love of hip hop, for the love of art, creativity, community, knowledge, things like that. I was more into that than he was, so I think he was a little like intrigued with what my parents were teaching me. He was like, man, how you know all this stuff? Where you getting these books from? You know what I'm saying? How'd you get that knowledge? How you know these stories? And so I think he became a little intrigued, and in his intrigue, you know, we started to hang out every day, and, you know, to be honest, blow a lot of weed, you know what I'm saying? And just talk.
The way a lot of great friendships are born.
Yeah, a lot of great friendships, you know, and to me, it's a social thing.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? We come together, we talk, you know, sometimes you get a little elevated, and it takes you to another level, you know what I'm saying? So we started to do that, and in the attic on 48th, right there on Graham, you know what I'm saying? And, we started to build a relationship, and then ultimately we created this thing called Silent Land Project. And the beauty about the Silent Land Project was the whole purpose was to utilize our voice as instruments and never to show our faces. The goal of the Silent Land Project was never to show our faces, because we didn't care if people knew who we were. We didn't want to be based off our image or they look a certain way. We wanted to be based off the voice, what we were saying in the music, how we were saying it, the uniqueness of it, the originality of it. You know what I'm saying? And so that was the main thing. And so we started to create that. We really did that strong for probably about 10 years. And then, you know, we always used to see this little powerful woman with short hair with no shoes on that was always at these shows. And even though it wasn't hip hop, she was killing everybody. Like, we were like, who the hell is this? Like, I was like, who is this? And they were like, Felicia V. Loud. I'm like, Felicia V. Loud? What? And she to me, you know, I tell people this all the time. She was the first Erykah Badu. She was the first Lauryn Hill. Like, we watched her.
So when you say killing people, like, were you, Felicia, were you getting in ciphers and singing?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't getting in ciphers and singing, but there was like.
Or were you getting ciphers and rapping? I mean,
what I was doing was I was just doing my voice, because there's a lot to be said about, you know, what we talked about a little bit earlier about your own, you know, and owning your own. And so for me, what I did was I didn't mind so much the perfection of what may come out. I like to say that I wanted to give the experience of what I was feeling when I either wrote the song or what's coming out my mouth at the time. So I think that may be a little bit of what it was.
Yeah, absolutely. We used to think of you as a sample. You didn't know that, but we listened to your voice and was like, she's a sample. Like, her voice is so unique. You could do so many things. It's jazzy, it's bluesy, it's soulful.
I could totally.
Like, it was like,
be a dope
there's a
thing.
couple. There are sometimes on your guys' stuff when you're singing, just like background while he's rapping, and it's like it's almost you're using your voice like a sample in that
like
way.
a sample.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just like a live, you know.
Yeah. And so it was so unique. We were like, who's this voice? And so, you know, after time, and like I said, you know, 2005 came along. And we started to say, okay, I started to think about getting older in this game. Like, how do you mature in hip hop? How do you create something that's uniquely dope, but also authentic to who you are? And I thought about the only person that we could ever collaborate with was Felicia Loud. Like, it wasn't another MC. It wasn't another vocalist. It wasn't live musicians. It was this voice that just stayed in our head. And so when we started to talk more in 2005 about Hurricane Katrina and the effects that it was having on the people, and just the humanness of it, you know, even my father started a nonprofit to go down to Katrina, and he did. He took materials. We helped him. He took materials down and drove from Seattle to New Orleans and took things over to people to help them, called United Rescue Relief. So when we started doing that, I was like, oh, she's serious about it. She's about the same shit I'm about. And so I just started to talk to her a lot more, like, you know, what's going on, and start to learn a little bit more about her. And so the Silent Lamb Project, as we were, you know, we felt like we had reached what it was that we were supposed to, like, as, you know, as these unorthodox parable and riddles, you know, raw raps, MCs, we started to say, okay, let's move to this next generation. Because, you know, I had more children. I got 4 daughters. So you had Sierra, and you had Kiera, and then you had Lasia, then you had Jalea, you know, and Felicia had a daughter, Adelia. And I was like, okay, how do we still remain relevant in a way that it's not corny? Like, I'm trying to hold on to something. You know what I'm saying? And so we sat down one day in like 2000 and maybe 8. We sat down one day and I said, can we have a meeting to talk to you about an idea? And we went over to her house that she was house sitting at. She made us a meal. Which is always good. You know what I'm saying? It's like weed, you know, you got a meal, it fills the soul, right? So we sat down and she gave us some chili, and it was really good. And found out later it was tofu, and I don't eat tofu. So she tricked us a little bit. But we sat down and we just started to talk about, like, what do you want to do with your career? What do you want to do with your voice? What do you want to do with this talent? What do you know? We knew she had a respect for us as MCs, but we didn't know if she would be able to find a way to collaborate. So we sat down, we had the conversation. She said, yeah, I'm open to that. you know, and we heard her more like the hook.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because she said, and even Silas Black was like, and you're not only gonna be the hook.
Yeah.
Like you gotta contribute more than the hook. Like a lot of times with rappers, the vocalist is a hook, whether it's a male or female.
Right.
It's a hook. And we was like, nah, you got a verse in our songs. You're a part of this. It's a collaborative effort.
Well, and then I knew that, right? You know, and going into it because of where it is that I had been on my journey.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, you want to keep progressing. You want to get into a group where you contribute, but you want to be a contributor that because the way that in which we were talking about it was that it was a group collaboration.
Right.
This is music, like you were talking about with Farside, who you like, or like anybody else that you talk about that as a group. Everybody has their they contribute, and because I understood the value, I think that's one of the things in terms of like what artists. Sometimes they may forget, you know, the value of who they are and what they contribute to the music. And Jason Black came to me as I was valuable. I already knew that, but they came with it like that, whereas other MCs hadn't done that approach.
I see.
I got this hook for you, will you sing this?
Right.
Yeah,
I got this hook for you, will you sing this? You know, and so, and they never wanted to join forces.
right,
and this was something that was a joint
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
joint force.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think the so I had already known of Silent Lambs Project. So me coming up as like a fan of hip hop in Seattle in the '90s, I went to a show at the Rock Candy, and I'm pretty sure it was Alcoholics show.
Yeah, I remember that show.
Yeah.
Alcoholics.
Yeah, and I was looking for it. I think I have another bin like
Candy.
too high in storage, but I have I still have a Silent Lambs Project T-shirt. Like
dope.
it's about a little more faded than my hoodie I'm wearing, black, but it's got that silver circle with the S across it.
Yeah.
Man. So I still have that.
That's classic.
And I just remember
you were gonna try to find it.
I was gonna try to find it. Like
That would've been high.
Tonight.
I was trying to find it. I think I know where it is, and it's so high that I didn't want to climb that ladder with the state of my neck right now. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But
Yeah,
it's
please don't get injured.
Yeah.
Getting
Yeah.
a Silent
Yeah.
Lamb shirt.
Yeah.
But,
That would be horrible.
I'll get a picture and I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I do have it. I know it's still there.
So just real quick though, is it Silent Lambs or Silent Lamb?
Silent Lambs Project.
Okay, S.
Yeah.
Okay, plural. I thought so.
Yeah.
That's what I always thought it was. But then when you were saying it, it sounded like you were saying Silent Lamb.
Yeah, Silent Lambs Project.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just clarifying. Sorry, Joe. Go ahead.
No, it's all good. And then, yeah, because I was just like, I thought it was so dope that there was a local act. Like Seattle in the '90s, that's another thing kids don't realize is that it wasn't that easy to find a hip hop show that you could go to if you were underage.
Yeah.
Like it was not.
definitely.
It was not easy.
Remember, we came from that dance ordinance too.
Teen dance
Yeah.
ordinance. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Dance
So like,
ordinance was a real thing.
yeah. So like I graduated in '96. So
Okay.
like, there was a lot of shows that were coming through town that if you weren't 21, you just didn't get to go to.
Yeah.
And a lot of them just didn't come to town.
Right.
Yeah.
In general.
Right.
Yeah, that's
It
real.
wasn't even
that's
an
a real
important stop,
statement.
right?
Yeah, that's a real statement. Yeah.
Like sometimes Bellingham would get a cool show and we wouldn't. You
Yeah,
know what I
or
mean? Because they had
Vancouver,
college.
Canada or
Because they had
something.
college
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
So when my friends, when we discovered Rock Candy and they started putting on bands like The Licks and Hieroglyphics and having local acts open, it was dope. And I mean, I remember Cypher. I remember that was like one of the first times I met Gabriel Teodros.
Yeah.
Was doing a Cypher in
Yeah.
the lobby outside of the Silent Lamps opening for the Alcoholics.
Yeah.
Anyway.
See, those are the type of things that like they should hear and know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like nobody came from outer space. Like we weren't beamed into a spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But for me, from my North Seattle background,
Yeah.
like I wasn't in touch with the local hip hop scene in that way.
Yeah.
I knew what me and my friends were doing, but I wasn't hip or like, you know, I wasn't with it enough to like to know how to connect with people.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a real eye opening experience. Just that show in particular was
Yeah.
huge. And then I remember too, like your guys' names like would ring bells back then. Because I remember there was a time when I thought Jason Black was a dude. I thought there was a guy named Jason Black.
Yeah, there was a guy that actually put our name on the flyers, Jason.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Black.
I thought it was, and that's why I said people would say your name. They'd be like, "Oh, you fucking with Jason Black," and so I thought there was Silent Lambs Project was one thing, but then I thought there was another guy named Jason Black.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
And then
Jason
I was
Black,
like,
he's down with Silent Lambs.
Yeah,
like that guy.
You know Jason Black? No, I don't
Well,
know
like
him.
like you said, I didn't have any faces to go with these voices.
Right.
You know,
and
what I mean?
that was on purpose.
Yeah.
Like it was more important that y'all knew the music
Yeah.
and the voice than the face. Like we could care less. Like still to this day, I could care less if people know who I am. Face, face recognition. Like I'd rather be like, man, I heard Black Stax. I heard that one song, and they could quote the lyrics. Because I think sometimes what happens is we get so caught up in image that we lose sense of what the artist is talking about, or if it's good, or whatever. Because we're human. So if somebody or something looks good to you, then you kind of let certain things go. Like you know what I'm saying? Here she's bad. So yeah, her mouth is a little nasty, but it's all cool.
There's a
you
reason
know
why
what I'm
there's the cliche of my really nice friend who's a little, not so, easy on the eyes. And then there's also like the stereotype of like the dumb pretty girl, right? It's just because some people find their strengths early, and those strengths are encouraged, and so they don't work on the other.
They
things.
don't work on the other things.
So like those stereotypes come from a real place.
Yeah, they really
extent.
do, and that's what we were trying to break. It's like we're from hip hop. We break stereotypes. We don't help increase them. Like that's what I come from.
Yeah.
Like I don't come from. If this is the stereotype, let's break it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? That's what I come from. So when I even tell people like hip hop was the first social justice piece I was a part of, like, what you mean? I was like, we broke stereotypes.
Yeah.
We didn't give a damn about none of that. If you were going left, we went right. If you were talking this, we would talk that.
Yeah.
But we would do it in a way that was intelligent and very resourceful, not just to do it, just to be different. It was like, okay, when we wrote Fight the Power, what was going on at that time?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When Fuck the Police came out, what was going on at that time?
Context matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't just fuck the police because they're the police, or fight the power because they're the power. It was a reason behind these things.
Well, and Ice-T's whole cop killer, his rock and roll shit, that was a protest song.
That was a
protest. It wasn't just It wasn't just for. I mean, obviously I think he was smart enough to know it was going to get some attention.
Yeah.
But it was a protest song.
Right, and that's hip hop. Like I said, I come from protest. My father's original Panther. My mom's a Pan African.
Right.
I come from protest.
And you talk about, like the Pan African thing, but like, it's all the context of it is like in that time period in like late 80s, early 90s is like the whole like Pan African Afrocentricity movement was like so, it was like so
Native
huge.
tongues.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, you think about how many people that were like not even black that were rocking the African medallions.
No, that's real.
You know what I'm saying? Just because like it was like that was the hip
conscious,
thing to
right?
do.
Like okay,
Yeah.
I better do some research,
Right? Yeah.
And it was that too. It wasn't even like you got to be black to do it. It's like do the research,
Right?
Yeah.
Like get the knowledge.
But that's why like some punk rockers who had love for the culture, like the Beastie Boys, like
Red Hot Chili Peppers,
were able to do it and be accepted because they were honest with who they were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They represented themselves in a real way.
Yeah.
And they even like went back. Like it didn't take but 2 albums before they went back and said, we said some foul shit on that first album that we don't really ride with that anymore.
Exactly.
And they just like we're people, we're human, we're growing.
Right. We evolve just
and that's
in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's important. For me, it's really important now because like I work with a lot of young people.
Yeah.
And the one thing I want them to understand is how important they are, like their value.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're not expecting you to be perfect when you come out of the womb.
Yeah.
We're expecting you to go through changes in life. We're expecting you to learn some things in life. We're expecting you to make some mistakes. We're expecting you to make some great things happen. We're expecting all of this from you in this time that is short span of your life. And it's the same like with music. Like, don't get me wrong. I've said some things probably in music where people were like, man, you were talking about what? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But nowadays, I always tell people, like, all my daughters, they can all go back and look at all my work and watch all my videos. To me, it makes me proud.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, my father was able to come to all my shows. My mom, who didn't even like hip-hop, she'd tell you, I don't like that racket, right? She would show up to a show.
Yeah.
Like, how beautiful is that to have the people you love, you know, in the midst of what you're doing.
Right.
And maybe sometimes, you know, they're going to check you. You're smoking too much weed or you're talking too crazy or whatever, but they're still there. They still feel welcomed in these places. And, you know, it's very important for me, like, through time, that it's relatable. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, you know, we all have a time span. We got a time stamp. And when that stamp hits, we're through. So what are people going to say about you?
Yeah.
You know, what are they going to remember about you? You know, we talked a little bit about John Moore, mentioned his name. Like, what do people remember about John?
Yeah.
What was his time stamp?
Right.
What are the things that, and why do we always wait till somebody's gone to give them their roses?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
right now, I think is a perfect time to celebrate what the Northwest is doing in music because there's a new resurgence.
For sure.
There's a new energy.
Yeah.
There's a new era. Like, we were talking about Mira and the connectivity and the Keita Olivers and these type of people. My partner, Amir Islam.
Yeah.
You know, these are the type of people that are connectors. And all they want to do is continue to grow and make things better for the next and who's next. And you know what I'm saying? That's why I can work with the residency.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's why I love the youth at the residency.
Right.
Because they're able to get that message from these teaching artists in a 4-week period.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And understand the passion and see, hey, man, I'm still involved. I don't know what y'all talking about. I'm still rocking stages.
Yeah.
So I don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all could act like I'm a has been, what been, or who's been. I'm still here.
Right.
So I'm still have a viable entity.
Yeah.
You know, and it's important, like, that they see the love. And, you know, even with a person like a Macklemore, I give him a lot of credit for this reason. You took your celebrity and you shared it with a city.
Yeah.
Now these young people are able to benefit off of that
Yeah.
because you're willing to put your name into it.
Right.
So now
To help with some
organizations
funding.
and companies
Yeah.
that would never listen to us are listening because you're involved.
Yeah.
How big is that?
Right.
Like, this is a new energy, this is a new era happening.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, like you start talking about it, and I definitely wanted to mention it. You got the residency sweatshirt.
Oh
on,
yeah,
you know,
represent
you're
every
representing.
time. They would
Yeah.
be mad at me if
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah,
You know
so let's talk about it. So how did you get involved with the residency program? Was that through Amir?
Well, Amir, that's my brother, but Amir wasn't involved with the program when I came in. When they first started the program 5 years ago, the teaching artists were Erica Merritt, Gabriel Tiedros, the director was Jonathan Cunningham, and he had Omana from Arts Corps as his support.
Okay.
Right, and that's how they started the program. Ben Secor was the voice for the Macklemore Ryan Lewis team.
Right.
When they started the program, you know, it was a 2-week program, and they didn't know what was going to happen. Like, they was like, this is rap camp. We're going to bring them in, rap camp, 2 weeks.
It's a summer program.
It's a
to be
summer
clear.
program,
Like, kids
right?
can
It
come
started
in.
off as a summer program.
Right. Kids can come in and work with teaching artists, musicians, producers.
Right. Meet some celebrities
Right.
like Macklemore and who else he was bringing in,
Right.
and Ryan Lewis.
Right.
Mopop,
Right.
You know what that was with Paul Allen when he was around,
Yes.
and you know Arts Corps as a support
For sure.
And so they came in and they did this program. And Erica Merritt invited me. She's like, Jace, we're doing a hip hop program. I remember how I learned about hip hop. You had something to do with that. Will you come and speak to these young people? And I was like, I don't know, because it was a lot of street politics around, even doing anything with Macklemore's name tied to it, you know, tied to it or whatever. And they were like, I don't know, man, are you giving this guy legitimacy? You know what I'm saying? I said, no, I want to go in and see what they're doing, because somebody who I have an affinity for, who I care about, asked me to come in.
Right.
And so I went in, and when I went in, I spoke to these youth. I was like, oh, this is dope. Then they invited me back, and then I went back and I did something else. I was like, Travis Thompson was there initially, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I kind of did some things. And I remember Erica calling me like 2 days later, and she said, Jace. I said, what? She said, you got to be involved in this program, man. She said, you have to be involved in the process. I said, well, you know, I'm not really in the politics of it. I don't really care about none of that. I'm not trying to, I don't want people to think I'm trying to get on by being involved with some Macklemore. And she was like, it has nothing to do with Macklemore. It's about these youth.
Yeah.
She said, I learned it from you. You share that. And so I was like, okay, I'll listen. And then Jonathan Cunningham approached me, and he was like, look, bro, you got to be involved. You just got to. and he said apply. So I applied.
Yeah.
And that was 4 years ago. And for the last 4 years, I've been involved with the residency summer intensive for the last 4 years.
That's
and then
fresh.
Amir came on like 3 years ago. But the one thing I really love about his vision is that he understands the value of the teaching artist.
Yeah.
He understands the value of the young artists that are there. But he also understands the value of the community that they come from and that they represent. And so he makes sure, him and Ben, I give Ben Secourt a lot of credit.
Yeah, that's my guy.
That's my guy too. And they both make sure that these young people don't feel objectified, right? And telling their stories. You know, all these poor kids.
Right.
All these these are some dope artists.
Right.
These are some dope artists who got some stories to tell that will translate around the world and people will understand it and feel it.
Yeah.
And there's an energy around it. And trust me when I say they're dope, like they're dope.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the last 4 years I've been involved with the program. I've been working with some great teaching artists. Spicy, Miss Olisa.
Yeah, Olisa.
You know, Mad Lines, Maddie Clifford, DJ Bizon, who came from Milwaukee.
Right.
Now we got Elon involved.
Okay.
Elon's on the team. Sax G.
Sax G.
You know what I'm saying? We
Field.
got Yidam Sack as a
Yeah,
teaching artist. You know what I'm saying? And so now they're getting to see not just people who are talking at them, but working artists, people who are doing things,
Yeah.
people who are staying engaged, people who are dope.
Yeah.
And they're getting to work with us, and we get to collaborate with them. And like I tell people all the time, you know, they make the program. These young people, they make the program. Their families, allowing them to be a part of it, make the program.
Right.
You get somebody like Amir on top, that's like whipped cream with a cherry on top. You know what I'm saying? That's somebody who's going to go out and make sure it happens.
Right.
You know, but the residency is a passion project.
Yeah.
You know, it's a year-long project now. We have ciphers. We have satellite shows. We have business tracks. We have flyaways. We have some other things coming up I can't really talk about yet, but there's some great things happening. So it's a year-round program because
That's dope.
we found out that after it's over,
Yeah.
these young people don't want to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, I met with Ben like over a year ago.
Yeah.
And we were kind of talking about that. He was like, I mean, it was probably more like almost 2 years ago at this point, maybe. But he was like, yeah, we're trying to kind of figure out how to like, you know, get it to be more of a year-long thing because, you know, after the summer, all these kids are on this high and they're like so excited and, you know, enthusiastic about what am I going to do and how am I going to keep this going? And then like, you know, they get back into school or whatever and then, you know, life kind of takes over again and then you lose that momentum or whatever.
Because a lot of them are dealing with a lot of things, a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
You know, some of them are dealing with recovery.
Yeah.
You know, abuse.
Right.
You know, neglect. You know, and I think, you know, we create an environment with all our experiences of all these people I talked about, of love, of respect, of appreciation, of value. You know what I'm saying? And just because you didn't do it how I did it doesn't mean it's not right.
Yeah.
It just means we did it different.
Yeah.
That's it. And we try to figure out a way to make however we do it different successful. So now we got vocalists. You know, they just did a show today where they did UNITY remake for Queen Latifah, live for Queen Latifah.
Oh, she was there?
Yeah, at a Hope Link event, right?
Oh,
and you know, these are the experiences that they get to have. How important is that for them moving forward?
Right.
Whether anything happens with Latifah or not, there. They get to move forward and say, man, you know what I did?
Right.
Yeah.
I did UNITY remix for Latifah.
Right.
And, you know, that's big.
And, but they probably don't even really understand the weight of it.
They don't know how bad I wish I was
big of
there.
a deal that was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had to miss it, but it was like, you know, these three young ladies, I'm like, you know, they all have stories. And it's like, damn, Latifah would really respect it to hear the stories to go along with it too.
Oh yeah.
But the production of it was dope. Like, it was super dope. And that's what I'm saying is like exposing them to experiences that they should have. And I say should have, not might have or could. They should have.
Yeah.
Seattle, the Northwest, I call it the Emerald City, right? We have all these hidden jewels. When we going to shine them up and let the rest of the world see them?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's such a like music rich history and background in our city, right? But it doesn't get the respect in the hip hop genre that it deserves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
It's never
too
gotten
bad.
really the shine.
Yeah, that's too bad because we got some heat.
Of course.
Yeah.
Filthy.
So I know you guys mentioned beforehand, and we actually knew about this already anyway. But you guys is getting ready to go on this tour.
Yes.
Yes.
And to Europe, right?
Europe and Italy.
Europe and Italy.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, what parts? What other cities besides? Where are you going in Italy?
In Italy, I don't know. Go ahead.
Bari, Rome,
There you go.
Eboli.
Okay.
Say
There's a
it.
few others that I can't really pronounce. So
Okay.
I don't want to.
So is it primarily Italy then?
No, and
Well,
Spain,
no,
right?
it's
Or you-
both. We're doing both. So we're doing
Not Spain?
Italy and
Okay.
we're doing the UK.
Oh, Italy
Okay.
and UK. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be over there with Miracraft for
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
3 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
putting in some good work. Yeah, it's
up.
called See the Vision. SEA, the Vision.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
see you.
Yeah, you see me.
And so I know that Mira had talked to me a little bit about it previously, and she said that you guys are going to be doing shows, Black Stack shows, but then you're also going to be doing like workshops and stuff during the day. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, trying to get all of that done. Hopefully that will both happen. The shows we know are solid.
Okay.
We know that those are going to be happening.
Still
and then,
trying to work out the workshop side.
workshops.
Yeah.
Radio will be on BBC there.
Dope.
And so just trying to make sure that everything is correct. You know, just where we'll be and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would be really sweet to have the workshops happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important.
Yeah.
You know, because we are of the community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times people say, "Oh, man, I'm of the people," and you see them, they'll videotape themselves buying Girl Scout cookies or something, you know, like that. But for us, it's not even about that. It's more about being amongst the people, you know, and getting that energy. When you're amongst people, I think, you know, in a community, you pick up on what is going on if you're a vibrant person. And Felicia Lau is a vibrant person. She takes in a lot of energy. So a lot of times we go places, she'll be like, you know, this is what's going on. I'll be like, where? She's like, right around us. And I'm like, really? And she's like, yeah, this is going on.
She got
and I'm
that
like,
sensor,
She
huh?
got the sensor. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't feel it.
Yeah.
And then it'll happen. You know what I'm saying? You know, but we like to be amongst the community. We like to be amongst our people,
Yeah.
talk to our people. You know, people say fans. I call them supporters. I think it's more important to honor those that come and support. And so,
Yeah.
you know, how great would it be to walk into some schools or community centers or libraries or
Yeah.
some type of venue and just have a conversation
For sure.
with who's there and pick up on what they got going on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that we can
Just
you know, build.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so is that part of the thinking behind why your last project was a quote unquote live album?
Well, it's called Illustrate, right? And, you know, Felicia kind of broke this down really nice. You know, to illustrate means to draw, to create. And we're still working on our piece. So we do these live albums because
It's also a synonym for like represent.
absolutely,
You know, to illustrate something is to represent it.
absolutely,
Right?
Yeah.
And for us, it's like when we go places, we want people to experience it with us. So if we go to Chicago, or we go to LA, or we go to Atlanta, or we go to North Carolina, or whatever, it's like, oh, how do we share this experience? Because we're also a group that's like, don't film our whole set and put it online. Like, come experience it. Put your camera down. Put your hands up.
Yeah.
Sing, dance, move your body,
Yeah.
enjoy the experience.
I finally saw Sir Mix-a-Lot perform live for the first time. Like it was like, I think I saw him twice now, but I saw him and I had to record all of my hoopty. Like I recorded that. I have for posterity. I had to
Yeah.
record that entire song, but then I was like, I'm gonna watch the rest of this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and another thing about the Illustrate tour, as we do it live, is because
Pull that mic up just a little bit. Sorry.
the other thing about the Illustrate tour
Yeah.
and the recordings being done live is because as human beings we have our DNA. And what we talk about is community. We talk about sharing. We talk about people. So the illustration is like, how do you live and how do you demonstrate that? How do you show that? And so you illustrate that. And then, you know, like Jace was saying, in terms of like the picture being painted after it's all over, when it's all said and done, after all of it is over, what do you have? What is the final picture? And the wonderful thing about, you know, the examples that you use with the artists and the visual artists is that, you know, it's always an interpretation which continues. So and your legacy which continues. It's an illustration of life. So
Yeah.
And music is one of those. It's a very unique art form in that everything is like, it's temporal. It's not permanent. Like you have your favorite song, but really what you have is the memory of that song. It's not, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You only listen to it when you're listening to it, but you still have that song in your mind, and that's how people get like lyrics wrong, like they get their own little, excuse me while I kiss this guy, you know what I mean, kind of stuff. Like
Gonna sail on the side of a mountaintop.
yeah.
That's not what Michael said. That's not what Michael said.
No.
Yeah.
But it's that's what makes music is really unique in that way, and so it's kind of cool that so where each song on there was recorded live, just like a one take. I mean, there's obviously like the KEXP performance, and then there's like the intro is obviously you can hear the banter of the crowd in the background.
Right.
Yeah.
But then so was each track though? Was it just a one take? Is that the definition of live, or like how did you are they all from different performances?
Yeah. Is it all from one show?
Our first album, our first live album at the Triple Door here, Talking Buildings, was done live, straight all the way through.
Okay.
I didn't know that. So that first Talking Buildings was one performance?
That was one
Yeah,
performance.
the live album was one
live.
performance. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know if I have the. So I
There's
have.
a live version of that album.
Oh, okay.
At the Triple
Yeah,
Door.
there's a live.
Oh, I got you.
So
I got you.
that's live all the way through, audience and stuff included.
But there's a studio version of that album as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay.
there's a studio version, and then for the Illustrate when we started,
Mm-hmm.
it was done live, and we did it in the studio backyard. What was it? No, what was it called? And when we did it in
L.A.?
LA, it wasn't backyard.
No,
it was
wasn't it. I'll get it in a second.
okay. And it was done live. We did 2 takes, as a matter of fact, because one was like getting accustomed to the ear, them getting accustomed, and we did the songs, and then we did it live and recorded it, and then I think that's how it happened. There was
that's
two.
it.
There was 2. We recorded it live twice.
Okay.
And so they and what we wanted from what song was here and what song was there that we wanted from those recordings, and then for the funny thing. That's not so funny when it happened was the second live Illustrate tour, Stax and Continues. We were in Chicago, and it was a live show.
Yeah.
And there was an audience there,
Right.
And they were, dancing, and they
was
were,
live.
and it wasn't that it was packed, but what it was that it was energized with Chicago energy.
Yeah.
People got up and they danced, and Jace has a song South End, and they got up and did hopscotch, and they were
they
playing,
did
and
their
they
own
was,
hopscotch
and they were,
slang, yeah,
and
stuff.
and there was a couple of women that were going to a show after that, but they were like, we're not gonna miss it. It was so popping. And the engineer was not informed that he was supposed to
What you mean?
record.
He was informed.
He
was informed. He didn't do. I mean,
He effed up.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Basically.
so, and then
You're nice.
we had to,
You're nice.
and then we had to, we had to, we had to be honest about what it is that we do and what it is that we wanted to give the people who support us. And so we went to engineer Greg Fields' studio, and we recorded that live. So they are live recordings. There are sometimes where we'll stop and have another song. Some things we just go straight through. Some songs have a very balanced follow through. Some you're just like, okay, we may have to find something that kind of like maybe this fades and things like that. But they are live recordings.
Yeah.
Got you.
Long story long.
Yeah, that was a long story to say they're all live.
Well, because
It's because the way I asked the question.
yeah, are they? Yeah. Thank you, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe. You can take that.
So the first time I heard your guys' music was live. So I was introduced to Silent Lambs Project, like I said, seeing you guys open back in the day, and then I don't remember who it was, but you guys opened for somebody at Nectar in Fremont, and I'm pretty sure you guys weren't the headline, but you guys were definitely performing, and I went to a show, and I don't even remember who I went with or
trying to
what,
think.
but I remember that's where I got my copy of Talking Buildings was from the merch booth. I think, I bought it from one of you guys at the merch booth that day. And the reason I bought that album was I Love My Life.
Ooh.
All right.
That song, that song, like,
Yeah.
it's cool. I just did the notes for Lorenzo for an episode that's about to come out. So for this local guy, RLS. I don't know if you heard of him. He's part of like Filthy Fingers United. He's an MC who also sings and like it's really cool. Like it was cool having him on because he had a song that was similar for me to I Love My Life, and that like it just became my anthem. Like I Love My Life became just an anthem for me for like a dark time that I was going through. Wow. And it's just
Appreciate that.
It's a song that deals with some real pain. Yeah. But it's that looking on, it's that self-love and self-care that shines through, and man, your voice is just, I can't tell you how good you already know how good your voice is.
I work on it.
Yeah. But that song was amazing. And that was a Vitamin D beat, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Vitamin D did that track.
And he what he did was I was in a state of real struggle. And I went to him and I said, hey, I need some beats, Vi. I don't have no money. But if anything happens with any of these songs, I got you. And he's like, come on, man, just here. And and it came up at a time where I wanted to be, I was looking for a way to give my daughter something that would be hers, but something that I felt was not only my pain, but she, no matter what happened, here's what it was. No matter what happened with this particular song, she would always know that this one was for her. And she had to love her life. And I had to, and in the time period that I was going in, I was like, okay, what I got to remember is I'm not homeless. I'm not hungry. Right. She's not sick. My mother has her health. I have my health. I'm not in the place that I want to be. I'm not in the relationship that I want to be with my father. These things are happening. But it's not that I can't, at some point in time, overcome the fact that I'm hurt, but I won't stay hurt forever. Yeah. And I won't allow myself to be hurt forever. I'm trying not to be a hurt body, because that just doesn't do her any service, doesn't do me any service, or my mom. So it came out of a genuine place.
You can feel it. I mean, I was just listening to it today, and it brought me back to that place and remembered what I was going through. And I'm not gonna bore everybody with my sob stories, but like it's we're all given the cards we're dealt, and then we all I feel like everybody. I really try hard to not be judge anybody, because everybody's coming from a different place, and I feel like we're all fighting against the trauma we experience as kids, right? Like everybody has their own unique version of trauma, right? And we're all broken, trying to heal ourselves and heal, and hopefully the best of us are healing others through healing ourselves, and we can do that, right? That's right. And so at the timing of that song was so perfect for me, and then again that message of I wouldn't change a thing because I would change everything. And it really makes you just like, there are some things that we all have, I know, because I have them and I'm a human. I know that there's those things that, man, if you had that magic wand, if you had that lamp, that's right. You know that shit would be different. Right. But you wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the way it was.
You wouldn't be the same you.
You wouldn't be you.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's really simple. It's not like it's never been said before, but you said it in such a good way, in such an honest way. And I just wanted to make sure I told you that you've had a real profound effect on my life just from that one song.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really.
And it's interesting. Felicia, I call her Lisa, but she's real humble with that. She's heard that before.
I bet. I mean, it's a powerful song. It can't have only affected me.
No, as simple as it is, it's so powerful. And it's like you said, what you remember from songs that make you remember other things in your life.
It take you back to that place.
It take you back to that place. She did that for a lot of people. So, I told you she's magical.
And the video's magical too. Because it's not, I couldn't find it on the streams.
Oh, you couldn't?
I couldn't. I
Is
didn't.
it?
It wasn't. I didn't see it on Apple Music.
Yeah, I didn't see it either.
Wow, I gotta.
That whole first
whole
project.
first album.
All
I
right,
couldn't find
Apple
it.
Music. We need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
All
Well,
your
it's
streaming
good.
services.
It's good that this is coming out. By the time this
Yeah.
episode drops, maybe we'll get that fixed. But
Yeah.
I didn't know if something. I mean, and something else I wanted to bring up. And like I said, we're not trying to TMZ anybody.
Right.
But originally Black Stax was 3 members.
Yeah.
And then there was a divide, and
Well, it was 4 if you talk about it, because Owo Runga was a major part
well,
of
yeah,
that.
he was
he
in that
was?
video too.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was in that
Owo Runga,
video.
yeah.
He was all over in
Yeah.
that video.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a core member.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
a core member. If I remember when we first started,
And that's what I remember at the show, because you guys had live instrumentation
Yeah.
at that show.
and we
Yeah.
wanted live instrumentation to represent Felicia's side of live instrumentation. Like,
Yeah.
me and Black was the hip hop.
Right.
She was the live side. Owo Runga came in and was
Yeah.
that balance.
Okay.
Right. And,
Shout out
and
O.R.
yeah, shout
That's
out,
the
big
homie.
shouts to O. And it's like it's interesting because the way we started was the way we felt like it would go forever. And in life, sometimes things happen that are unexplainable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why O-War is not with us. You know what I'm saying? I have a little bit of an understanding why Black is no longer with us, but I don't really understand it to this day. Like, I will never understand what happened. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about anything because I feel like I'm still with a very powerful entity, right? I feel like me and Felicia have made the best out of what we were given.
Right. The situation.
And we're doing our thing, and we're not going to stop, and we got great music coming. But I also feel like, what happened? I always ask the question of what happened. But I don't stay in that. Like,
Yeah.
I can't. I just can't. And so because I can't, I feel like we're giving you the best of what we have left. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
these 2 members.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Started with Silent Lamb Project and Felicia Loud. We added an Owo Runga. Now there's no Owo Runga. Now there's no Silas Black, but there's still Black Stax.
Yeah.
How fortunate
Yeah.
do I feel of that? Like,
For sure.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like there. I mean, it doesn't seem like there's any. You guys are you and Black are still brothers. You guys.
Yeah,
are
it's
still,
all good.
It's all
Like, I don't
family.
have no
Yeah.
ill will towards Black.
Yeah.
I'm not praying for his downfall.
Not at all,
And
yeah.
pray for my downfall. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And we
Well,
don't
he
pray
didn't-
for
and-
Owo Rungas either.
And same like Silas, don't get it twisted like that. He had anything negative to say about either of you either. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
It's all respect. I can
it's
tell.
all respect.
and I can see that.
Yeah.
I just it's just things change.
Yeah.
I think we would be remiss to not mention that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
important.
We didn't
I
really
think
get
that's
to that
important.
part of the timeline.
Yeah, that's important.
You know,
yeah.
you guys became Black Stax after Silent
Uh-huh.
Lambs, and then
Yeah.
and then Silas wasn't in it anymore. So it's-
Well, Silas was in it all the way up until after the first live album.
yeah.
Okay.
We did the live album, the Talking Buildings live.
Right,
and,
right, right.
Yes.
we got a write up in
So you
Double
gotta-
XL.
That needs to be streaming too. Like I want to hear the live version too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to write up a Double XL about the 15 things to look out for, and we were mentioned, and then it was like our world was crumbling on the back end, but
Yeah.
Oh, was that the thing that came out like right after the heist came out, and they were everybody?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I
okay,
think
'cause
so.
there was that time when, like-
Raz and
Yeah,
us
yeah.
and
Oh, things over in
Fatal
Seattle.
and
Yeah.
Gifted
Yeah.
and all that. I think all that played a role.
Headphones.
I think all that played a role, like, in why it was mentioned, because
Yeah.
the heist came out, and I think people were trying to figure
All
out
this new attention on,
Yeah,
on the
what-
town.
what-
Like,
yeah,
oh,
what's
Macklemore's-
going on?
What else is happening?
what else
here?
is happening.
Yeah.
And there's some. I
Yeah.
mean, even now, there's some really dope shit happening.
Oh, there's so
Of
much.
course. Yeah.
There's some dope shit.
There's so
happening.
much.
Yeah.
We should just pause right now since she's left.
It's all good.
I'm gonna pee too.
Okay, go ahead.
What time is it?
Oh, it's getting late. But
10:30.
Okay.
talk to me about Henley and the Henley Chronicles.
Henley. That's the person who's talking through the whole.
The part 1 and part 2.
Henley.
Yeah, your friend that you recorded.
She was talking about they give
Tanya.
you
Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay. So yeah, Henley's her last name. So so in high school, her brother and I dated, and so she's his older sister, and she always has something to say. Always has something to say. What y'all doing? listen, don't be bringing no babies in this work. Just always talking. And would be talking totally real, but had no filter. So when I saw her, whenever I see her, her thing is to give me information, one, about how to live, how the universe works, how life is, how things are unexpected, but that's always her. She may not see me for 3 or 4 years, and then she'll say, Lisa, and then she'll be like, okay, you know what? And so she'll just start talking to me. So she saw me on the bus, and we got off the bus, and I asked her, I said, can I record? I said, I'm recording you. And so that's how that came about.
But love, it's a live recording. You can tell.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. And I love it when she says, and I'm out. And she just turned the corner and left.
Oh, that was from a bus trip.
Yeah,
you
that was
just started recording
actual
her.
conversation.
Yeah, when we got off the bus,
Yeah.
she just started talking. But she always has this thing where and she said to me, she said, I don't know if it's on there, but she said, put me in a play. Because she always said, put her in a play I was like, it's done.
Well, she said that too. She said, the part 2, she ends with everybody. She's like, everybody has their part.
Yes.
And and that was the break into the everybody plays
That's
their part.
real too.
Yeah, it really is.
And her brother doesn't even know that she's on it.
Oh, wow.
And I saw him the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You should
funny.
tell him, be like, why don't you listen to my album?
What's up
But,
with
you know your
hating?
sister. You
You
know your
would've known.
sister's on an album.
Yeah, she
You
got a
would've known.
feature.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah,
she
that's
does.
real. That's real.
And then another thing, is Jace your given name?
No.
No. Okay. I didn't think so.
No.
But I just wondered that, we were talking about the Jason Black, that mysterious figure. But the whole just the story behind your name and the Jace E. Cage.
Well, Jace, my first name is Jamal. And
Okay.
so cats, that I used to run with would be like, yo, Jay, you're my ace. Like, we can count on you, bro. You're solid. We don't have to worry about it. If you say it, it is what it is, and blah, blah, blah. So Jay is my ace. But, I wanted to expand it. It's hip hop. You gotta always take something. So I was like, it means Jah, Allah, Christ, Earth. So representing all elements of the mind, the spirit, the soul, and the physical.
Gave it the KRS-One treatment.
Give it to KRS-One. So like that's what I'm saying is really go like, okay, if you're Jace, then who are you? And E Cage is the uncaged. It's that crooked angel part of me.
Okay.
It's that other side.
What's that mirror image, right?
It's the mirror image.
Yeah.
Some people say it's broken glass. I say it's still intact. You know what I'm saying? So it just it's like you have the two personalities. You have Jace, somebody you can count on. Jay is my ace. Jah, Allah, Christ, Earth. And you have E Cage, the uncaged. Like you don't know what he's gonna do. You don't know what he's gonna say. You don't know where it's gonna come from. It's the rawness, the grittiness of who I am. So that's the perfect balance. Jace E Cage.
Was it always just Jace, or did it used to be J Ace?
No, it was always Jace.
Okay. Because that sounds like some mad '90s shit.
Yeah. No.
My man J Ace.
Yeah, my J Ace. It's like, Jay, you my ace.
Yeah,
I was
okay.
like, where? It was Jay, you my ace,
got you.
Jace. Jace.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I gotta do this for my mama. Jah, Allah, Christ. Okay, I got a consciousness with it. Like there's a balance, Mom.
Sometimes you have to
what I'm
reach
saying?
back to find the meaning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then Felicia, the V. What does the V stand for?
Victorious. It's like it stands for Von Shell.
Okay, so it is your real middle initial.
Yes.
Yeah.
it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
I thought maybe it was like for like very like
Right.
Felicia,
Very loud.
Very loud.
Very loud.
Thanks,
very
child.
I was talking about you as a performer.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But Loud is your last name. Your
Loud
last name?
is my official last name.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah. We're pretty simple, man.
Same. I'm a simple man.
It was simple, man.
I like food with cheese in it.
You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. I like
That's a grouch line. I took that from somebody. So
Right.
I
I like
give
a little
credit.
water in my diet.
So what? Besides the tour, you guys got anything else coming up specifically that you want to make sure and shout out?
Yeah, specifically November the 7th will be at the Moore Theater with
Okay.
Ampersand.
Okay.
Forterra.
And then we are still developing November the 16th a kickoff for leaving for
the tour. Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
it's
we
gonna be
have
some
two
kind
new
of show.
songs. We have 2 new songs we're about to drop.
Okay.
So I'm excited about those.
Word.
I won't even say the name of. I won't even get the titles.
Yeah.
But we have 2 new songs we're gonna drop on November 1st. Working with a producer out of Florida.
Okay.
So it's a unique sound for us. It's a different sound for us, but it's an exciting sound for us, and I
Dope.
think it'll be a great kickoff to, where we're going and what we're doing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about the production on the
Yeah,
last
it was excellent.
on the live and then the EP, the Movement EP. What did you guys do for production on those?
The Movement Music EP was all one producer,
Okay.
a guy by the name of Rob Banks
Okay.
Beats.
Oh yeah.
That's what I was gonna bring up, was I
Yeah.
had forgotten
Yeah.
that like back then when that shit was happening, I knew that Rob was producing shit for you guys, and then it all came back today when I was like listening to some shit. And I
Yeah,
was
so
like, oh,
Rob
yeah,
did all that.
Yeah, Rob's
Yep.
the homie. We've known
Rob,
him
yeah,
for a long time.
love Rob. Like, got a
Yeah.
lot of respect for Rob, appreciation for Rob. We
Yeah,
still
shout out for
talk
Rob.
with and work with Rob. It's
Yeah.
like we didn't do a song, do a project and be like, all right, thanks, Rob. We out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we still stay engaged with Rob.
Word.
Matter of fact, we're gonna sit down with Rob in a couple days
Tight.
and just kind of talk to him about some other stuff. So Rob did the Movement music piece.
I think he just had a birthday. I think
He just had a birthday.
Was that today or yesterday?
Today. His
Yeah,
birthday
today.
was today.
Hey,
I think
Happy birthday.
Birthday, Rob.
I
Yeah.
HBD'd him on the Facebook.
Yeah,
so,
happy birthday. And it's interesting. He'll love to hear that. Yeah, he'll love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the homie from back in the day. So yeah,
Yeah.
Word. And then what was the other show? Oh yeah, so talking about so OR. Have you guys? I mean, he's not officially in the group or anything anymore, but I was listening to the song off of that All City Chop
Yeah.
compilation.
Yeah.
And there was OR horns that were kind of like sampled into that beat or something, right?
Absolutely. Like.
Have you guys been have you worked with him at all anymore?
We haven't worked with OWAR in a few years,
bit.
probably about 3 years.
Okay.
And we miss working with OWAR.
Yes,
but
definitely.
I think OWAR needed to do some things with himself.
Yeah.
So he went back to Kenya.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Built him a home over there. He's
Dope.
over there doing some things over in Kenya.
Is he living there right now?
I think he may be here now, but
Okay.
he's back and forth.
Yes. Okay.
So I think he spends the majority of his time in Kenya now.
Oh, dope. I didn't even know.
And he's doing some really great things out there. So we'll collaborate again with
Mm-hmm.
OWAR. Like, that's,
That's fam.
yeah, that's family. We ain't going nowhere.
Word.
Yeah.
Oh, and he had a pretty good run. I'm sure he did a lot of touring with Macklemore, right?
Yeah, him
yeah.
and
So,
Matt.
a couple
yeah,
years.
he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had a pretty good, solid run. He was a busy cat. I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like
Very.
Absolutely.
nonstop
yeah.
for like at least
What was
3
interesting
years.
is that he
Very.
always made time for us, though.
That's really dope.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if when he was here and he had a minute, he
Yeah.
would give us his minute.
Tight.
And so we always appreciate that.
And that's a valuable minute when somebody's that busy. you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
That's love.
So when do those 2 new songs come out?
So we're going to drop them November 1st.
Okay. So real soon.
We're gonna like
Okay.
in a few weeks. We're gonna drop them, or a couple weeks. We're gonna drop them, in line with the tour.
Okay.
And try to start it all off.
All right. What are the names of those songs? Because by the time this comes out,
He told us he's not telling us.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
not
you're
telling no
but,
names.
But by the time this comes out, they'll be out.
they'll be out.
Yeah. So
Name and all.
Yeah. Well, the lead song is called "When It's All Done."
okay.
It's produced by a guy by the name of Sino Beats
Okay.
out in Sino. Just to spell it right.
Right.
So Sino Beats. He's out in Florida.
Okay.
And then we have another song. I'm not gonna give you the title.
Okay.
I'm just gonna say it like this. This song speaks to our time
All right.
in the game. It speaks to understanding and appreciation for our time in the game without running away from it. You know, a lot of times people try to hide and I ain't been around this long. No, we've been around.
Yeah.
And this song speaks to our time in the game and appreciation and love and respect
Dope.
for our time in the game.
Word.
Yeah.
Well, we usually like to drop in little snippets of some songs and stuff throughout the episode. You know what I mean? When we go
Okay.
back during the editing. So hopefully we can play.
Yeah,
a
we
little-
can get
play
you
a little bit
those.
of
And
those
when will
songs.
it air?
We don't know the exact date, but
We're not sure.
yeah.
We'll give
Yeah,
you guys-
we'll get you those songs because
hope-
November 1st is coming up. So we'll get you the songs for sure.
I mean, I think with the trajectory is that we're trying to get this out early in November, I think.
Cool.
So I think we
Yeah,
should. It
that's
might
what we
be.
get, still.
It might be shortly right after you guys release those songs. So
Yeah.
we're gonna
But
keep the
hopefully
buzz.
you can get
We're
it
gonna
out
keep the buzz
before you
going.
leave.
you know?
All right, yeah, let's keep it
Yes.
going. Yeah, absolutely. That would be great, Joe.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
and if we when you guys find out the info for the show, for the like tour kickoff show,
Yeah.
maybe we can like just
Yeah, so we can plug it.
record that into the episode and help plug the show and
Oh,
stuff.
that would be
Yeah.
great.
You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be
promo.
perfect. That'd be perfect.
So, yeah.
We need the city to stand up like we did when we were doing Power Bills and What You Wants and Dope Emporiums and Black
Yeah.
Festivals and Langston Hugheses and
Yeah.
Rock Candies and Sit and Spins and the
Peace
Meccas
does.
and all of that. We need the city to understand the importance of us celebrating each other.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important. You know what I mean? You go to other cities and
Yeah.
these cats ain't hanging out together. They're not friends. But they understand when it's time for us to all show up,
Right.
we show up and show out so the rest
Yeah.
of the world can understand what's here
Yeah.
and how the rest of them play a part in the success of what is happening in the region. If we all stood up, if we all were at a party like when we were at Scarlett's party, Park Ave's party, and I got a chance to see you guys work and we got a chance to actually sit down, that really made an impression because now we're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if we all did that for spots
Yeah.
when people were dropping something, whether it's Paris Alexa,
Yeah.
or whether it's Travis Thompson, or whether it's dripping Rose Prosecco or Lexi Leilani, or whether it's Black Stax,
Yeah.
or whoever it is. If we showed up and didn't get caught into, or Charmaine, or Talea, or Brandon, and I'm speaking about these people because I'm thinking about these people. What if we showed up and just showed out? If somebody from outside the city came and saw that,
Yeah.
they would be so interested in finding how that moves forward. I remember something, and I'll end with this, that a record label said about the Northwest. They said, we're all here, we're all downtown. Grunge was hot.
Yeah.
Mix-a-Lot was hot. The city seemed like it was on the verge of fire. We were about to blow up. And they left. And they said, the reason we're leaving is because you guys don't support each other. Let's create an environment that showcases our support for each other and understanding the value of that, what it means to the next artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm trying to build with the residency,
Yeah.
or Hip Hop is Green.
And that's something I really liked about that event that we met at.
Yeah.
That Park Ave
Yeah.
event is that it was all about that. It was
Yeah.
all about grassroots artists supporting artists.
Yeah.
And like, so I just got back from a trip. I visited some family in Cleveland.
Okay. Oh,
Because
Cleveland.
my cousin is a ride or die Browns fan,
Oh,
and
okay.
he got season tickets, and so
Saw the Seahawks whoop 'em.
yeah, so so we made a deal last summer. I was out there for my grandma's memorial, and we made it, and we were like, hey man, next time one team goes to the other city, I got a ticket for you.
Oh,
And
nice.
so
Yeah.
Seahawks went to Cleveland, so I got my ticket. I went there, and I had some time before I flew back, and I was able to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and it was pretty. It's it's a museum, but it's pretty cool, especially if you love music like I know all of us do.
That's right.
And it was so cool to see how heavy Seattle was represented. There's so much Jimi Hendrix stuff there, and
Quincy Jones.
yeah. Ray Charles obviously had
Ray
his
Charles,
stint
Pearl
here,
Jam,
but
Nirvana.
they have a one hallway, and it's just cities that rock, and they go to Memphis, and they go to Detroit, and they go to Seattle. They have a whole section because of that 90s wave. There's a whole what's cool is that in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there's a whole section just for our city.
Dang.
Wow.
And that's
All right
powerful.
now. That is powerful.
Yeah.
You know?
Powerful. And
It's a
it's good
museum.
you said that because I don't know if a lot of people know
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know that.
People don't realize that Seattle like holds weight, you know. And of course, obviously, the '90s they're highlighting the grunge. Like I didn't even see Mix-a-Lot, although there should be some ass cheeks
Absolutely.
at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the baby got back
Yeah.
all over their ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also a hip hop section, and part of the museum was under construction. Really, there's just too much shit to mention.
Yeah.
All of it. There was
Yeah.
some really cool shit. I'll show you some pictures.
Yeah.
But they had a section that was hip hop, and they had like, man, just the shit that like touched me was like I see in DMC's glasses, and then they had a pair of shell toes with no laces, and they were the foam was all yellow. You could tell they were really from the 80s, like they were just yellow and dirty. They had Slick Rick's eye patch. They had they had they had a De La Soul leather Africa medallion.
Wow.
And they had a notebook from Prince Paul for a tour that he was doing set lists for Stetsasonic and De La on the same bill, you know.
Wow.
Just cool shit like that.
Yeah.
You know, that just I don't know. It was powerful for me, and it was just seeing hip hop represented, and then also seeing my city represented. It warmed my heart, and it gave me a lot of hope for like the potential we still have, because I know the talent. I get to talk to dope artists all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for this opportunity to talk to people, and specifically this one, to talk to you guys.
Dope.
Yeah.
Well, we're
Thank
very
you so much
happy.
for having us.
Yeah, we're very honored to be here, and I'm glad to talk to some brothers who understand and know what happens here.
Yeah.
And happened here.
Yeah.
Like, because it's interesting when you talk to people that don't know,
Yeah.
it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
They don't really have a reference point to go back to. But you all can go back to Seattle Center or Langston Hughes.
Yeah.
Or The Flavor or Rock Candy or Jasiri or whatever that you can go back to. And it means a lot because
We rode the bus with A-Sun too.
see, with A-Sun and all that, right? And I tell everybody, I said, so if it doesn't matter, guess what? In 10 years, neither will you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
can't just throw things away that mean things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to at least know they're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to hold on to them, but know they're there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, because in 10 years, we don't want to throw you away either.
Right.
We want to honor what your contributions were. And like you said, Jimi Hendrix and Quincy Jones and who else did you say? Pearl Jam and
Yeah.
the grunge scene. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
Seattle's grungy, man.
It
We
is.
were Birkenstocks and flannels. You know what I'm saying? In the rain. You know what I mean? With no raincoats. Like, we have a uniqueness here.
Yeah.
And the Emerald City is a special place. It has a special place in the world. And once we understand and honor that, we'll get everything we're supposed to get.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well
and
said.
I hopefully I'm around to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me
Word,
too.
man. I think that's a great place to wrap that up. I think that's a dope
it's perfect.
ending statement. Man, this was dope. I'm so glad you guys got to come through.
Oh, yeah.
The
Y'all been
conversation was
fantastic.
awesome.
Y'all
Yes.
been fantastic.
We loved all of the great like tangents that we got to go on with you guys. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of times some artists, you know, they just want to talk about their own stuff and their career or whatever. But like, man, we really like to just have good conversations. So this
Nah,
was,
that's
like,
dope. You
really fun,
might talk to
interesting.
us and we don't talk nothing about our
I know. That's
new
why I
music.
tried to make sure to keep coming back.
we had to
like,
bring it back.
Get some stories from the actual stuff. You know what I mean?
Don't y'all got music coming? Oh,
Yeah.
we do.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, we're touring.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. Yeah.
All right. So, real quick though, where can people reach you, or where can they find out about all the current stuff that's going on?
Black Stax Music. That's our website.
Okay.
BlackStaxMusic.com. You know,
And that's Black
BlackStax.
Word.
Like Stax Records.
Cool.
And then Instagram, Black_Stax.
Okay.
We're Black Stax
That's
on
it.
Facebook. We're on Twitter.
Word.
Yeah, you can check us out on any of those.
Yeah. Just keep staxing.
Yeah. Keep
Stay
staxing.
stacked.
Yeah, stay staxing. There he is.
Word, man. Well, we look forward to being able to talk with you guys again
For shizzle.
and see what's going on and get the updates after the
Yeah,
tour.
after the tour, that would be great.
Yeah,
to
we
come
do.
back.
We do. We started to do more, and it's been a while, but we do something we called like a sesh episode where we have somebody who's been on before and just come back, and then we can just like talk about what's
dope.
going on.
We don't have to focus on their story as much. We just talk
Yeah,
about
just
what's
more-
going on.
what's
you know?
going
Or
on.
we
Just
can talk
chopping it
about
up.
current events or whatever. You know?
Dope.
So you guys are welcome back anytime. Just want you to know.
Right.
Be our pleasure to come back.
Sure.
Thank y'all very much to the biggest podcast.
Yeah.
Put the biggest ears on it, the biggest eyes on it. Understand that this is important to the information, the knowledge, the understanding about what's happening in the Northwest of Americas. It's Black Stax, J.C. Cage, Felicia Loud. We stay staxing.
Boom. All right. For myself, Miguel Rockwell, Hawkins Bird,
That's me.
Black Stax, and we out.
Peace.
It's the biggest.